tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape. Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. 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 Grind the tape.
The tape.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
The tape.
UGA game day, boy, we ball out. Pull up, put the whole conference in the doghouse. Leave them 6 feet, see me on the win streak. All-star status, go coach, and the bench deep. Offense on 10, how we run it? Your best ain't nothing, we gon' send them boys punting. Black and red, got them dead on arrival. Defense hunkered down for the tie. Hey, you don't want it with the dogs. Found guy on it, you don't want it with my dog. Break it down, play by play, that's the day-to-day. They know we ain't come to play, boy, it's UGA. Kirby Smart, I cannot play the fool. Back to back, we did not come to lose. Back to back, like we got something to prove. Pay your dues, dog nation on the move. What's up?
We do a little bit different around here.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Shut up and grind the tape.
The tape. The tape.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Them dogs in your face.
Let's grind.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Shut up and grind the tape.
Shut up. Let's grind.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Them dogs in your face. Shut up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape. The
Shut up
tape.
and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
Shut up and grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape.
Shut up and grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
Shut up. The tape.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in to the Film Guy Network on a fabulous Wednesday night. All right, it's 8 o'clock live here on the network, as always. All right, now, next Wednesday we will not be here at 8 o'clock, but that's okay. We'll be here next Wednesday at noon because we're moving into our off-season schedule, if that's what you want to call it, around here. We got a loaded one for you, as always, around here. One person going under the radar during the national title headlines. Excited to find out who that is tonight. ESPN's All-American team was released today. We've got thoughts. We've got opinions. We're going to bring them to you. We've got buy, sell, maybe a little bit of hold on the national title and college football playoff contenders in the upcoming 2025 season. Excited to bring you those tonight. We got college football EA 25. Is it college football 25? We got college football 25 apparently causing beefs in locker rooms and on rosters. Excited to bring you that one tonight. I've got film notes. I went back and watched that Ohio State Notre Dame game from the 2023 early parts of that football season, and I came away with tremendous amounts of notes and thoughts. We've got final national title predictions as well tonight, but I want to start with this, man. If your football team isn't playing on Monday night, so for like 99% of you listening right now, that's you. I'm talking to you right now. If your football team is not playing, this right here, this is get right time. And to avoid any cliches, I just want to lay out some what I would call facts. I think they're opinionated based facts, but I don't think anyone's going to argue what I'm about to lay out with you right now. I look at Ohio State, this football team that is going to play on Monday night in the garnet and gray. Is that what they call that? That garnet and gray. Okay, what? Scarlet and gray? That's scarlet and gray. I look at that football team playing right now, and I see some really impactful football players that they obviously purchased last season, right? None more important than Caleb Downs and Will Howard, right? But Quinshon Judkins as well. Obviously, you look at the 13 players that they went out and purchased, and you see football players that are impactful on this roster. There's no doubt about that. They spent some money on it, right? But you can't look at this football team from Ohio State right now and ignore the football players that they retained on this roster that have made tremendous leaps and bounds in what is their final year in an Ohio State uniform. You look at players like Travion Henderson. He is certainly playing his best football right now. That's a football player that got tremendous amounts better this offseason. Jack Sawyer playing his best football right now for Ohio State. JT Tuimoloau playing playing his best football for Ohio State. Some of these names that most people outside of Ohio State fans don't even know. Guys like Jordan Hancock, that is a really high-ranked high school prospect, has really elevated his level of play over the last 6-7 months, right? You look at guys like 91, Tyleik Williams that they retained on this roster, playing a tremendous amount better this year. 74, kicking from guard to tackle, playing much better this year. Denzel Burke returning to this roster, playing better. Ransom, back on this roster, playing better. Yes, they added a bunch of people to this roster. Yes, they had the money to retain these players that I just mentioned, who most of which had NFL draftable grades a year ago, right? And turned those down to come back to Ohio State. But they didn't just turn them down for Ohio State to pay them to return. These players got paid to return and get better. All of them got better. They figured something out this offseason. I look at Notre Dame, a football team this time last year that was just going back into the portal to buy another quarterback. We just tried the Sam Hartman experience. Hey, maybe we'll take a stab at this Riley Leonard guy. Maybe it'll work out. I look at this Notre Dame team this time last year, most of their fans listening tonight will remember a time period, and most of the articles looking at this defense going, shit, we're going to lose 8 of 11, starters to either the graduation or the draft, or worse, look up now, Riley Mills, a returning starter that you thought about this past offseason, gets hurt, right? Your starting corner that's returning gets hurt. Okay, so a lot of changing parts for this Notre Dame team this past offseason. They've replaced almost everyone on that defense with seemingly better players. We went and looked at that film study today of watching them play against Ohio State last year. 10 of the 11 guys on the field aren't even going to be playing in Monday night's football game, and I would argue that they've been replaced, at least in 8 of those 10 situations, with better football players. They're better at linebacker. They're better on the defensive line. They've replaced graduate players with better young football players that obviously developed on this roster, because it ain't like they went out and added 30 guys via the transfer portal. Sure, one of these football teams playing on Monday night went out here and paid for a $25 million roster, but they figured something out in the offseason with players that have been on this roster for a long time, and I think that's undeniable, right? And it's led to a new coachism, boys. As I was writing the notes today, I developed a new coachism that I might put on the wall. At least put on the wall when I become a coach one day, when it inevitably happens, because commenters are always asking me for it. Do you know what the coachism is? I told it to you pre-show. Do you remember it? Do you remember it?
Spoil it for you? You want to say it?
No, I want to say it, and I want you to telephone one another and see who gets it right. No, I'm just kidding. Here it is, right? Championship football teams are forged in the I fudged it up. Championship football teams are formed in the offseason. They are forged during the season. If not formed correctly, they will not survive the forging. Okay?
There you go.
So we form that sword during the offseason. Okay? We get it properly ready to go right into that water after we heat it up with fire during the season.
Is it water, or I think it's like a...
No, we heat the steel up and then we dip it into water to forge it. I don't
know if it's forged in... Either way.
Are you forged in fire? You're forged in fire, right?
You're forged in fire, and then you treat it when you put it in the... But I don't know if it's just water you dunk it in.
But you form it before you forge it, right?
Correct.
Or do you form it while you're forging it?
You form it, and then it's like a back and forth.
No, we need a blacksmith. They still make those?
I mean, they make everything.
Folks still out here blacksmithing?
Yeah.
I'm sure some people are.
Yeah.
I need a blacksmith.
It's not like a traditional, like...
I was working with formed and forged, as you can see. Most coachisms like that got like he's really cooking, playing with words right now.
Yeah, there's an alliteration.
Yeah, there's something going on right there. So
I like it.
We're formed in the offseason. We're forged in fire during the season. We got to be formed correctly to survive that forging.
There you go.
I got to it. Welcome in. We got a loaded show for you guys tonight. Apparently one guy's been going, is it a guy?
Yeah.
Apparently one guy's been going, you never know nowadays. Apparently one guy's been going under the radar during the national headlines leading up to Monday night's national title. Kirby's going to tell us who that is tonight. ESPN's All-American list has been revealed. We've got thoughts, opinions, and notes. We're going to buy, sell, and hold some college football 2025 playoff hopes. College football 25 video game causing some roster beefs, apparently. ESPN, I guess, did an FPI. We're going to guess the FPI today.
Yeah.
ESPN guessed an FBI. Coming back to the show notes tonight. By the way, it didn't make it in my show notes when I rat-a-tatted these off. Okay, hey, I'm just telling you, you're going to have to insert this into the show notes because I'm not going to transition into it. I'm telling you that now.
Cool.
And we got final predictions and film notes tonight as well. But I'm going to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Better. If you are looking for a new place this season to place college football props, player props, okay, enter more than or less than key stats for key players in key college football games, none bigger than the national title on Monday. Head over to Better. Use promo code Brooks. You'll get a 100% deposit match up to $250 over there on Better. Again, that promo code is Brooks. Make sure you're heading over there supporting those who support us.
Before we get too far into the show, there's a very important super chub that needs your attention right now. It might be the best of all time.
Perhaps.
I mean, dude, while I was ripping my opening, you guys were laughing over there, and I was trying to figure out what was going on. Dang, that's unfortunate for Jacob Crumley. I wanted to pay it to read it slow is nothing inappropriate. Waiting on a cop in Atlanta because I just got in a wreck, so why not learn some football from the best in the game while we wait? Jacob Crumley, that sucks. I hope you weren't the reasoning for the wreck in Atlanta.
Hopefully you're the victim.
I also hope you got to the side of the interstate really, really safely. It seems that you did. I hope we can provide some laughs over the next couple of minutes, especially this next segment. I think I cooked a little bit. Let's head to the board and add Jacob Crumley's name to the list. All right, by the way, for those of you wondering, if you super chub, as we call it around here, more than $20, all right, your name ends up on the board over here. Jacob Crumley. Any relations to Crumley from the Pawn Stars show?
I think that's Chumley.
Yeah.
Chumley. See, a CTE brain be doing it too. All right, we got Jacob.
Also known as Josh Heupel.
This is Crumley. Yes, Crumley.
Yes.
Crumley. Actually, no, there's a B. There's a B.
There is a B. I thought so.
My B. See what I did there?
Good one.
See what I did there?
This guy's cooking. All right, so yeah, make sure you holler at them super chubs if you want your name on the board. Man, there's hundreds and thousands, some would say millions of views on those names alone during our film studies. So it's a great opportunity to get your name up on the board and obviously support the show. We appreciate Jacob. I'm sorry about your wreck. I hope you're doing okay. All right, Kirby. One person apparently has been going under the radar during national title talks. So here's what I want to do. I want to try to guess this person. Okay. Because I don't know who this is. So here we go. Is it Brady Quinn's sister?
Brady Quinn's sister?
Yeah, Brady Quinn's sister, also known as the Split Jersey Demon. If you don't remember the last time Notre Dame and Ohio State played, Brady Quinn's sister, I believe, was dating A.J. Hawk. Don't know if they got married, but she had that dynamite split jersey, half Brady Quinn, half Ohio State. Is that the person that's not getting talked about?
That's a great guess, but no, it is not.
All right, let's stay in the drip theme. Let's stay in the swag and the style theme. Is it Mr. Sweater Vest King himself, aka Jim Tressel? Is he not getting talked about enough?
No, I don't know why you talk about Jim Tressel for this game. But
is it the fact that this matchup is slick, kind of Christian versus Catholics? I mean, we got Jack Sawyer giving praise to the Lord after wins. We got Caleb Downs getting in the face of the camera, praising the Lord of the wins. All great stuff. And obviously, we got the Catholics on the other side. Is it that?
No, not that. God's not going under the radar in this game.
Is it the fact that it's hair dye versus hairline?
Oh. No, but that
all-time rivalry.
That is an interesting one. I didn't even think about that.
Is it the fact that there's a cage match between Lou Holtz and Ryan Day going after the game?
Did you see Lou Holtz's Twitter today?
Yeah, it's a tough team.
Whoa.
No, I didn't see it. What happened?
He tweeted something about how, I would like you to find the tweet so you can read it in his voice, because I think that'll give us the most. But basically, Lou Holtz was talking about how if the only reason Notre Dame loses is to retain Ryan Day's job.
So just so we're clear, it's not Lou Holtz.
No, it's not Lou Holtz.
Who is it?
All right, so as we all know, Notre Dame is in the national championship right now, and Marcus Freeman has been properly congratulated. This has been, it's a great coaching job by Marcus Freeman. All we've talked about all playoff season, it seems like, is how well this team is coached, how great of a job he's done. And you know what it makes me realize? Because this entire, look what he did. He got them to 10 wins, 12-team playoff wins in year 3. And what's going on here with this?
Well, I mean, a new challenge being LSU in the SEC.
Why we're buffering, but we're buffering. Completely froze.
Let's pull the plug on us after you started impersonating.
That's what Chaz saying. I think we're kind of skipping and catching up now. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kill all of my apps on everything. All right. Maybe it's not a Wi-Fi thing because we're hardlined into the stuff. I think we're good now. I think it's a YouTube problem. I'm hoping it's a YouTube problem. It's certainly not us because, man, that's the best 14 minutes opening we've done in a good little minute.
It really was.
That was good shit right there. Except for the fact that I apparently unmuted myself when I walked to the board.
Love that.
Yeah, I love that. That's on me, though. That's not on the production team. That's on me. Where were we even at?
We're talking about Brian Kelly.
You were talking about Brian Kelly sucking.
We're not talking about Brian Kelly. Well, I didn't say that. It's just like we're not talking about enough how Brian Kelly was basically praised for what he was able to do at Notre Dame because, winning 10 games there was really, really hard. Marcus Freeman's at the Natty in year 3. Like, no one's looking at Brian Kelly and, like, saying, like, wait a minute. Are we sure, like, this is an elite head coach?
There were so many people that were opping right there. Ryan Dye with the hair dye comment probably opping on us.
That's a new one. I haven't heard.
Lou Holtz probably opping on us.
Lou Holtz has no idea.
I figured we started
Lou
talking.
Holtz has absolutely no idea how to take down a YouTube.
The ops opping on us in general.
Lou Holtz might be asleep right now.
I would hope so. 8:15, and when I'm 95 years old, I hope I'm asleep by 8:15. Shit, I hope I'm still here.
Is he 95 actually? Is he actually 95?
I don't know. He looks like it.
Damn.
I mean, if you're 85, you look 95.
He's 88.
Okay. Yeah, he looks 95, and you looks good for 88 at looking 95. But anyways, you're right. Brian Kelly has kind of squeaked by. How has nobody been like, hey, yo, what's up, man? This first-time head coach and Marcus Freeman 3 years in at a natty.
Mm-hmm.
Out coaching everybody, too.
Exactly. That's the interesting part. And maybe Marcus Freeman is just a one-of-one type of guy, and that's what it took for Notre Dame to get over the hump. But the fact that Brian Kelly was so heavily praised, and I know that there was some criticism against him. Notre Dame can't win the big game anytime Brian Kelly plays a real team, yada, yada, yada. We all knew those. But he was overall praised for the job that he did at Notre Dame because it was, quote-unquote, Notre Dame. But that's all kind of gotten tarnished now. And no one's really talking about it.
I wonder how Notre Dame fans feel about him. The Notre Dame fans that are in the chat, I would love for you to be our thermometer on the Brian Kelly meter. Because when he left, I don't know how the response was when it was announced that Brian Kelly was going to LSU.
And it's not even like he really has he's a nice guy thing going for him.
Most people dislike him. He's very unlikable.
Mm-hmm. So probably don't really care for him and probably are like, leave that guy in the past. Why do we care about Brian Kelly?
Is there a likable loser in college football? Sam Pittman? I wouldn't call him a loser.
I hate labeling.
I hate labeling losers. But who's a coach that got fired where everybody's like, dang, I really like that guy?
Biff Poggi.
Yeah, but he's more of a character.
Well, yeah.
A likable
But isn't that what makes a loser likable?
Yeah, I guess.
It was that way for Mark Richt when he got fired.
Correct. Everyone loved Mark Richt. You're right. Ain't a soul on the planet that ever said a bad word about Mark Richt.
As far as the character of Mark Richt. There are a lot of people. Fire Mark Richt was like one of the first websites I realized, like, oh, anyone can make a website, huh?
Really easy to make a website, huh?
Yeah.
You're right, though. This is a good take. The idea that Kelly's kind of sneaking by here.
Yes, because
nobody's looking at.
I haven't seen anybody talk about it, and it's not like he's doing like fantastic things at LSU. Yeah, you won the West your first year. You still lost 3 games that season. Obviously, at Jaden Daniels last year, I think they lost 3 games that year again, and obviously with this year, things did not go as planned. So I think people are starting to turn their heads, or should at least starting to look at Brian Kelly and go, wait a minute, are we sure that you're up on this pedestal that we think you are?
And like Hunter Lacey in the chat right here, who's a very frequenter of our chat, says college football is different now. There was no NIL when Kelly was at Notre Dame. Now you can just buy talent. I'm sure Marcus has way better players than Kelly did. I would argue he doesn't. I think Brian Kelly recruited inside the top 12 every year he was there.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
I mean, he had first rounders. He had first round tight ends. Mm-hmm. Had decent quarterback play throughout his time there.
I would not put
good running back play, good defensive line play.
I would not say Riley Leonard is miles above the Everett Golsons or the Ian Books of the world.
Oh, the Ian Book walks circles around Riley Leonard. Ian Book was a good college football player.
He was really good.
I shouldn't say walk circles.
I wouldn't say walk circles.
Yeah, that's
but
a little bit strong. I liked Ian Book a lot more than I thought I would ever like Ian Book.
They go in the same tier at least.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like there's exponentially better talent.
just better coaching. All right, let's move on to the ESPN All-American team, boys. I don't think we need to read off all of these names that made All-American lists. I think we should just start with talking points and things that we had problems with, like this one. I really like Jeremiah Smith. I think Jeremiah Smith's going to be the greatest wide receiver prospect in 2 years that potentially we've ever seen come out of college football. I felt like that about him coming out of high school. I was very frequently giving him the comparison of Julio Jones when he was 17 years old. I cannot think more highly of Jeremiah Smith. That being said, the idea that ESPN made him a first-team All-American over Terrio McMillan is a little bit absurd. Not absurd. It's a little bit crazy to me. The 15-game stats over the last 3 games, Jeremiah Smith, or last 2 games, not including the Texas matchup, they've done it, and he did a tremendous job. He put up a bunch of stats, went over 1,000 yards in 12 games as a freshman. Certainly incredible. But Terrio McMillan put up 1,300 yards in 12 games on an offense that threw for 2,800 yards. He was 45% of the total offensive production in the passing department of a singular football team, while basically getting triple teamed the entire year.
Yeah.
I think Terrio McMillan deserves to be a first-team All-American, despite the fact Jeremiah Smith is going to be a legend.
Yeah, it's one thing to walk into a game and say the defense is going to key on Jeremiah Smith, but that's also without saying they also have Carnell Tate. They also have Emeka Buka. Like, they also have these other viable options in this offense that you have to pay really close attention to. When you go play Arizona, yeah, the defense is paying attention to McMillan, but that's really the only guy they have to pay attention to, and he's still putting up numbers like that.
It's also recency bias. Like, if you read the little excerpt they said about Jeremiah Smith, it was a true freshman, 6'3". Smith was uncoverable in the Buckeyes' first 2 playoff games. Like, okay, he played really good in playoff games, but you're going All-American throws. And Jeremiah Smith had an incredible season, but it seems like people watch playoff games and, oh, yeah, Jeremiah Smith, All-American.
We got people in the chat try to correct my pronunciation and getting upset about it. Buckle up. If you're new to this network, whoa. Yeah, I'm not the one to heckle on that stuff. I'm going to jack it up. I jack up regular words, let alone confusing names.
What was the one he said yesterday that was like?
Autonomous.
Yeah.
Anonymous. Autonomous?
Unanimous.
I went unanimous yesterday. Yeah, GME. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
The biggest problem I have with this, and it's not selections per se, but why is it there's 2 running back spots and 2 wide receiver spots? That didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I don't know. Everybody's running 22 personnel? Everybody's running 23 personnel?
21 personnel with
everybody's running 23?
2 wide receivers.
Or 20. That'd be 20 personnel. No tights.
Yeah, definitely.
There's tight ends in here. There's 1 tight end.
What other notes did you have? I know you had one because I want to eat on it. So go ahead. Give me the one you
I have to save that one for your other question that you have.
Oh, my bad.
I also love, sorry, I didn't mean to step on.
You're fine. I was just going to say that I don't know that I could really think of anybody that I truly thought got snubbed on this list. I thought it was an all-around, really solid All-American list. Like, would I flip-flop maybe some of the first-team and second-team guys, like you just mentioned with Jeremiah Smith and McMillan? Sure. But the names that are listed on the first-team and second-team on both sides of the football, it's like, those are probably the people that need to be there for those positions, in my opinion. I didn't feel like that there was like a glaring hole on this list of like, how did this guy not make the list?
I do think there was a glaring, no different than I thought McMillan should have been first team over Smith. I thought there was a glaring, and it's not even a snub because he was a second teamer on ESPN's list, but the idea that Jihad Campbell's not a first team All-American linebacker on any list to me is a little bit baffling, especially when you pass him up for Sean Dolac, who, look, if you ain't heard the Sean Dolac story, I'm all about it. As a former walk-on who earned a scholarship during my day, I'm all about linebackers who apparently were at Buffalo as a PWO and then was like, you know what? I'm never going to play at Buffalo, so I'm going to transfer to friggin' Tittawatta Tech, and then I think it was Portland State, and I'm going to go to Portland State, and I'm going to win a job in the spring at Portland State, and suddenly that's going to let me know that I can actually play football. So I'm going to transfer back to Buffalo and win a job as a PWO, and then I'm going to have 139 tackles because my mid-major team wants to stat pad me and make me an All-American story, and I'm apparently better than Jihad Campbell. That, to me, boys, was the biggest snub, if you will.
Yeah, that's fair.
Sorry, Sean Dolac. I don't mean to take a swipe at your statistician either up there at Buffalo, but come on, 139 tackles, I'm dubious.
So what I'm hearing is just because the stats are absolutely outrageous, the fact that you didn't play on Power 4 talent doesn't make your season as worthy as you would think.
No, I'm just dubious of the idea that someone had 139 tackles this year at Buffalo. I think, and I know we got some funky stuff going on with these home away splits and stats. Do me a favor. I don't even think they keep game logs on Stat Reference for Buffalo, but here we'll find out if this is true or not. Go find me the home away tackle splits for Mr. Sean Dolak.
You got it.
Okay. If we can get that. Now, if Mr. Sean Dolak is just out here putting up 16 tackles a game, no matter the playing surface, no matter the location of the game, I'll shut up about Sean Dolak. That being said, Jahan Campbell is a first-team All-American.
I agree with that. I agree.
Any snubs that you felt like? I know Jonathan already told us.
I didn't think there was as many. Like we said, it's a fairly solid list. There's not anything where it's like he should have absolutely been there. I do love the fact that they created an entire category just to put Travis Hunter somewhere.
Yeah, I think they do the all-purpose every year, though, because I was going to make that take, too, but I think they put an all.
Like last year, I think it might have been Zachariah Branch.
Yeah.
I think that's who they put there.
What'd you find on Mr. Dolak?
They do keep game logs and game stats for Buffalo on Game Reference. I looked up his game log on here, and it is pretty absurd. He also had 5 interceptions.
But is there a difference in home and away splits? Is he getting like a lot more tackles at home than he is on the road?
No. He actually is getting more on the road. I'm
going to shut up, Sean Dolak. I respect your game.
He had 19 tackles against Northern Illinois.
Hey, that team.
19 tackles, 4.5 tackles for loss, and an interception.
It's a nose for the foosball right there.
That man had the game of his life.
That's a nose for the foosball.
Notre Dame could have used him.
All right, question here. Who is the most unanimous All-American? If there are some. I think we settled pre-show on 4 names. We settled on 4 names of players that were guaranteed, no debate. This is a first-team All-American.
Ashton Genty.
Mason Graham.
I think Caleb Downs fits into this equation. I don't think you can even name me the second best tight end in college football. It's Tyler Warren by a mile.
Is it? Is it by a mile?
Yeah, who's second?
Harold Fannin Jr. led the... you roll your eyes. He led the nation in receiving yards. The nation in receiving yards at Bowling Green.
Oh, see now this Ashton Genty discussion has really put us all in a tizzy now because stats all of a sudden are like, wait a minute, he did this.
Dude, he put up over 1,500 receiving yards this season.
Ashton Genty almost broke Barry Sanders' record.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, is it a mile?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
It's a mile in my mind.
I'm not going to argue what.
Austin Loveland is the best NFL team prospect. Man, I love that we got Michigan homers, obviously, in the chat, but I'm going to go no on that one. I'm going to go Tyler Warren.
Counterpoint?
All I'm saying is...
Counterpoint? No, he's not.
All I'm saying is there's only one person in this room that has watched Bowling Green football this year. So who would know about Harold Fannin Jr.?
He has a point.
What were you? Oh,
no.
I know why. You got family ties to the Bowling Green.
Hey, they played
machine.
Penn State, played them close.
Yeah,
I watched
28-26.
Bowling Green game this year because I bet on it.
You got into some dark times there on betting this year.
It's all about the line.
It got really hairy there, Philip. It's like Portland State versus Alabama Tech.
All about
then we're going to do some Bowling Green.
Portland State obviously hired Michael Vick to be their head football coach up there. I want to give a shout out to Coach Bullock. Daryl Bullock is my offensive line coach from Shorty University my last year. He is the assistant head coach underneath Michael Vick up there at Portland State. So I know he doesn't listen to the show. I know we're talking and joking about Portland State, but a guy that I love just got a massive job at a school that's actually going to get talked about now. So I think that's worth talking about.
Hell yeah, shout out.
Let's transition. Buy, sell, playoff teams 2025, boys. What do you got going on for me? What are some teams that you're buying going into 2025?
I think there's a couple of the obvious ones, the Georgias, the Texases. I mean, Ohio State is probably another one of these teams, despite the fact that they're going to lose a lot. They're one of these teams that you're just always going to be safe to buy with. But there's a couple of ones I kind of want to float out to you that you might not have on your radar either way, but I'm interested in.
Come on.
What about Georgia Tech? Are you buying or selling that as a playoff team?
I'm selling the defense.
Yeah, I'm not buying that.
I'm selling the defense, and I'm buying another team out of the ACC just because I think they're going to be miles ahead of everyone else in terms of stability. It's Clemson. I think Clemson walks through the ACC in 2025.
I agree. I had them on my buy list.
Yeah.
I think that Clemson will be a playoff team next year.
I do
Plus,
too.
Georgia Tech, the offense will probably still be relatively good next year, but you also just lost your top 2 wide receivers of the portal.
Yeah.
You got to replace those 2 guys, and those 2 guys were big-time difference makers for you this year.
What about, since we're in the ACC, what about North Carolina?
I mean, I'm buying the schedule.
That schedule is
I'm
nothing.
buying the schedule. I think Miss Belichick pulled a Miss Signetti. Was like, I mean, you can win 10 games there and have our son have a head coaching job when you go take the Cowboys job. You know, that kind of thing.
Is his son older than her?
What?
Is
for sure. Is he older than his new girlfriend? For sure. Steve Belichick's like in his mid 30s.
That's so
his girlfriend's 24.
Our son, who is
By the way,
10 years older than me.
Chat, I need y'all timed up live with me because my dumbass is out here giving credit to a guy I love at Portland State when they're at Norfolk State. So come on. I need y'all a little bit quicker. Also need you guys a little bit quicker.
How was I supposed to know that?
You don't know where Michael Vick got hired?
Look, I was going to correct you.
Correct me.
Sorry.
My
That's on
bad.
me.
I
I'll
did.
take
I
mine.
was thinking,
looking
like,
like an
what the
idiot.
hell is Mike Vick going to Oregon for?
Yeah,
But I didn't say anything because
My bad.
that's on me too.
That's on me, not you guys. I'm buying Oregon's schedule.
Yeah.
I'm buying Texas's pedigree. For that same reason, I'm buying Georgia's pedigree, and I'm buying Ohio State's pedigree.
Yep. Those are all the same
Are you
things I
buying
had.
Are you buying your team again? You going back for seconds?
For Arizona State?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm selling every Big 12 team.
Oh,
I'm selling every Big 12 team.
selling
And you're
them
going
all
to tell me somebody's got to make it. Don't mean shit. Don't mean somebody's going to win.
You know,
I don't think anybody from the Big 12 is winning the
going
national
back
title
for
next year.
seconds. I believe Jalen Daniels is returning, is he not?
oh God, no, dude.
Kansas?
I think.
I don't know if I can do that again.
Why not? It was pretty fun there at the end.
You know what? Are we going back in, dude?
Who
I
you
have
selling?
to go take a gander.
Who you selling?
I'm selling South Carolina.
That's a good one.
I'm selling South Carolina. Look,
Anti-Shambeamer deep state right here.
South Carolina had a great season, and they were many moments away, or not many moments. There's multiple moments in that season where they could have been a playoff team if it had gone the other way. But I do think that they are kind of, I don't know, I think they're romanticized a little bit too much of this season. Like, I think Lenore Sellers was a great player, turned the ball over a lot, and I don't think people are really remembering that side of Lenore Sellers. Like, he had a good season. He's a really impactful player, and there's a very good chance that he's going to develop this offseason and be even better next year. But I think that there's a lot of things on that roster, a lot of pieces leaving that roster that I don't know if I'm going to just automatically jump on South Carolina, feel like they're going to ride the momentum into this season and be a playoff team. I think they have some good pieces. I like what they've done in the portal, but I'm not just out here buying playoff stock because they came close this year.
I'm selling Tennessee stock.
I'm with you on that.
And I was buying it this offseason. I was like, hey, man, let's gear up for 2026, 2025, 2026. They haven't. And look, nobody went out here and got a king's ransom in the portal. I don't think anybody turned around and made their football team go from the 12th ranked team on paper to the 3rd ranked team on paper, like we saw Ole Miss do last offseason, like we feel like Ohio State went from 5th maybe to the best team on paper. I don't think anyone's done that this offseason. However, Tennessee lost good football players. They lost Squirrel White. All right. They lost Caleb Webb, who's played a lot of football for them at the wide receiver position, a position of need for them. Now, all this being said, they didn't add anybody in the portal worth like real note. They got the wide receiver Jefferson out of Alabama. It's a good football player, but doesn't have a lot of college experience. In fact, he has 0 college experience. They took, I believe, an interior offensive lineman from a mid-major school as well. So they added 2 or 3 players, but they did not go out and make massive additions like I think they needed to make a push next year. It's hard to see where Tennessee on paper got better this offseason when I felt like they needed to.
And today, Jamal McCoy, it was broke that he tore his ACL training.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, that's not even a great start for one of your best players. I mean, there's just a lot of things that it's like, I don't know if Tennessee's going to be able to replicate what they did, especially like Dylan Sampson. He's not going to be there. Like, there's
Now, I will say, Deshaun Bishop and the other freshman running back looked really, really good this year for them in what you would consider mop-up duty. But Bishop got like 2 totes. He got the number 2 totes for them this year as a true freshman, and I thought he looked really, really good. I always know Heupel's going to be able to run the football, but they had to do something. Peyton Lewis's name. They had to do something to add to the deep passing game of this football team and shore up the offensive line. I know they got David Sanders coming in, but asking a true freshman to play tackle in this conference, we know the history of it. Okay, there's a couple of them who've done it really, really well. We just watched a kid from South Carolina do so this year. The left tackle up there,
Josiah Thompson.
Tompkins did a really good job this year, Josiah. So it can be done, and I'm saying David Sanders is certainly talented enough to do so. I was just expecting more. Now, you noted before the show in pre-show planning that they've got some draft declarations still looming.
I think the only one that has declared is Dylan Sampson. Like James Pierce, there's nothing on his Instagram. He hasn't officially declared. I don't think Cooper Mays is officially declared. There's a lot of names on that roster that haven't done the whole edit thing officially declared. And I think the deadline is today. So I don't know what's going on there. Surely James Pierce is going to the NFL. I hope he is.
Boy, the next time I get into an argument with a Tennessee fan or any football fan that wants to criticize Josh Heupel's offense, I'm going to let them know that Josh Heupel had Cooper Mays out here as a second-team All-American on ESPN's All-American list.
For real.
That alone is absurd. Because if you're actually watching the film, Cooper Mays is a serviceable SEC football player. But he's going to go down as a legend to Tennessee football fans because they've been running the football really well, and they think it's all tied to the center, and it ain't. But yeah,
I'm going to say a team that was in the playoffs this year. I don't see Indiana 11 wanting their way back to the playoff, and that's kind of what you have to do.
It's a safe bet.
If you're a team,
safe fade.
Well,
right
not
there.
only that. I mean, the reason they did it this year was because the schedule was favorable. All you really had to do was beat Ohio State. You got a bad Michigan team towards the end of the year. You have to go to Oregon next year. You have to go to Iowa. You have to go to Penn State. Like, there's a lot. There's 3 or 4 games on there where it's like, ooh, that's going to be tough. I don't see them only losing 1 game this year.
Any more buy sells?
Bro, they upgraded at quarterback.
Big Mendoza guy.
I don't know if they upgraded.
I don't know. Curtis Rourke out here going for 3,500 yards on one knee.
Would you buy Florida?
Yeah, I feel like bought some stock on Florida. But do I buy them to be a playoff team? I don't know. I buy them to be a really, really damn good 9-3 football team next year.
How about Miami?
No.
Not buying it?
Not right now.
What would they need to do for you to kind of be like, okay, I believe?
Come out game 1 and let me know that you've replaced Xavier Restrepo.
Like, is Nykar going to be your
is Nykar going to be a dude?
That's the question.
Come out and let me know that you've replaced some of the weapons that were lost. Come out and let me know that Mark Fletcher can not only be like a really good 1B, he can be a 1A, and you found a 1B. Do those things. That's for me. Are you buying Notre Dame going into next year? I think we've already talked about that. I don't know if they can repeat this performance.
I honestly, off the top of my head, don't know the schedule, but my immediate reaction would be to say yes, honestly.
Yeah, you can miss me on buying FSU stock.
Buy him to do what? Win 6 games?
Biological, baby.
I mean, they're
t-shirts.
getting good football players to still commit to go down there for the
They
money.
are. It's kind of impressive.
But if you buy 14 good football players and you've got 60 bad ones that don't want to play hard for you, that don't want to play hard, that's the other thing. It's really weird about seeing that from Norvell's football team this year. All right, guys. Kirby, you put a note on the show sheet that apparently College Football 25 was causing some issues on rosters this year.
Yes. So in the modern era of college football, where
it's like dudes scrapping over like fourth quarter bullshit interceptions. What are we talking about?
In the modern era of college football, where there's NIL, there's transfer portals, everyone has an opportunity to start somewhere, everyone can get more money elsewhere. You would think that those would probably bring up the most discussions when it comes to some quarrels between coaches and players in the locker room or players amongst each other. But one Marshall head coach, or Southern Miss's Charles Huff, who spent the last 4 seasons at Marshall, talked about how players were coming to him and complaining about how low their ranking was in the NCAA video game.
Said it was his number 1 offseason boiling point?
Said it was a major boiling point for them, yes.
Look, boys, I can't lie. I don't mean to harp on the next generation, but I, for a lot of reasons, think the upcoming generation is pretty much cooked. But the idea that the backup left guard from Marshall is walking into his coach's office and being like, yo, coach, why am I 67 overall on the college football 25 video game? What the hell's going on? You talking about a different level of lack of self-awareness? Some backup from Marshall talk about why my overall ratings suck? Huh?
The best part of this
Sir, 10 years ago, you were LG 63. What?
The best part about this is my favorite paragraph here is, according to Brandon Marcel of CBS 24/7 Sports, Huff saw his players complain about their ratings. Some even came into his office, not to talk shop or how they could get better to increase their rating, but to air their grievances with the arbitrary ratings of EA Sports placed on them. Just like,
bro,
guys, it's, first of all,
It's Marshall.
you're on Marshall.
You're on Marshall.
You're like
Coach
dynasty.
Huff should have looked at you and said, buddy, I'm surprised they got your name correct.
You're like the number one team that people start dynasty.
Yeah,
with.
that's tier 1 rebuild, brother.
Let's not be too sad that we're not getting a couple 80s and 85s in there. That's interesting. Now that might also be just a get off my lawn moment from the coach, but
Nah, he seemed like he was serious. He seemed like it had been happening enough to him that he felt like at an AFCA he had to say that in front of other coaches.
Look, if it's that big of a problem, get in front of the team and say, guys, shut the heck up about this bull crap. Quit coming into my office talking about video game ranking ratings. Like, what are we doing?
You know what that is? That's an incorrect, all right, and a non-proper estimation of one's worth. That's bad value is what that is. And you know what's tremendous value, guys?
ooh, good.
I've got tremendous value for not only you guys, I've got tremendous value for our listeners right about now. Rocket Money's premium features are tremendous value. What is Rocket Money? You might be asking. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and it helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money has over 5 million users that have saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members over $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals today faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/game on today. Again, that's rocketmoney.com/game on. rocketmoney.com/game
on.
Attaboy, boys. I've got film notes.
More film notes?
Here's film
Got
notes.
film notes. I've been dumping some film studies as of late, just absolutely ripping them to shreds. I had a commenter today. I was at yesterday. 5 hours of film study.
Yeah, that was yesterday.
So now we're up to 5.5, almost to 6. So congratulations to you guys as viewers for getting to hone in on all that extra ball knowledge this week, heading up to the national title next week. But I went back and watched last year's matchup between Ohio State and Notre Dame because I was curious. I was curious how they approached Marvin Harrison Jr. because he's a great wide receiver. However, they approached him in Emeka Egbuka. I imagine Al Golden and this defensive staff from Notre Dame will probably go into this football game with a very similar game plan, considering the success that they had last year in that ball game. What I found immediately was what we talked about a little bit earlier here in this National Hours, just how much this Notre Dame defense has completely flipped over the roster. We counted the starters that they've lost due to graduation and injury up to 10, I think it was. And 2 of the guys, or 9, I think it was, and 2 of the guys that were on that roster that were quote unquote returning this year were number 20, the starting corner. He's out for the year, and Riley Mills, who is now out for the year. So they've lost the only 2 returners from last year's roster, and they've gotten tremendously better. I think they're better at nickel with Ryan Clark's son, Jordan Clark, that transferred in this past offseason. I think they've gotten better at linebacker with 24 moving in there and 34 moving in there, getting rid of 27, who is really, really good. What was his name from Alpharetta?
J.D. Bertrand,
really good football player.
BT kid.
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, 24 is just as good, maybe a little bit more athletic right now playing for them. 34 has replaced number 8 for them at linebacker, and I think he's playing tremendous football right about now. They're just better all around. When I watched Notre Dame's defense, I felt that way. With Notre Dame's defense last year compared to this year, it's night and day from a level of execution and athleticism that you will see on the field. As for how they went about covering, they played a good bit of zone coverage to start that football game, but ultimately they remained with the same aggressive tendencies and aggressive traits that they typically do. And when it comes to guarding a dominant X receiver like Marvin Harrison Jr., like Jeremiah Smith, the real question becomes, how are you going to play them when they get into 3-by-1 sets and leave that X receiver by himself? I want to go to the board now and just kind of talk through how they played it last year and how I ultimately think they're going to play it this year against Ohio State. All right, so guys, 3-by-1, right? 3 wide receivers to one side of the formation and the one primary X receiver on the backside. Those are the types of formations that really force the defense to declare.
This is just a football nerdy question.
Yeah.
Is there ever a decipherable difference between 3-by-1 and trips? Or is it just different ways to call it?
No, 3-by-1 is trips. Trips is 3-by-1.
Got it.
So yeah, I mean, there's different variations of trips, right? Trips bunch, trips stack. There's different, trips condensed. There's different types of trips, but I'm talking about 3-by-1 extended, basically what most people consider a spread formation, right? We're going to put the slot receiver over here, maybe the H on the line, put the the Z over here by himself, okay? Right here. All right, now we go over here and we put the X all by himself. Now, what Notre Dame did last year was they chose to bracket Marvin Harrison Jr. If they choose to play man coverage, I think this is what they're going to choose to do again. Now, bracket coverage can go one of two ways. We're going to show you both ways today. All right, bracket coverage against an X receiver is the corner out here playing outside leverage with the safety standing over here in the middle of the field with eyes on that wide receiver. In other words, we're going to play outside leverage with the corner, forcing him into our inside leverage help. We are going to bracket that wide receiver, right? They did a lot of this against 3-by-1 last year against Ohio State. Now, this right here has been the problem for most football teams once they decide to double team Jeremiah Smith or Marvin Harrison Jr. It's Emeka Egbuka doing what, guys? It's Emeka Egbuka running that deep middle crosser. All right, they've hit this a lot for big explosive plays over the last 2 years. What Notre Dame did against 3-by-1 sets last year is they chose to bracket Emeka Egbuka as well with the middle field safety. All right, they have one safety over here bracketing with eyes on inside leverage of Jeremiah Smith or Marvin Harrison Jr. in last year's case. Now we put the other safety basically in the middle of the field. We take a nickel defender. All right, we put him over the top of Emeka Egbuka. We have the nickel defender play outside leverage. We have the safety play inside leverage. All right, and we basically bracket Emeka as well. Now,
hey, maybe talk a little quieter. Apparently, you're clipping the mic pretty bad.
That's on me. We'll have to turn that down. All right. So either way, bracketing both of these wide receivers. All right. Getting a little too excited. Bracketing both of these wide receivers with both of these safeties. Now, what most people will ask the next question to, if you're dedicating that many safeties to stopping pass routes, right, passing routes, what are you going to do in the box? Well, they're going to be forced to play this box light like everybody else, right? You're going to have to stop the run with these 6 defenders in the box because all 5 other defenders are, being used to stop the pass. All right. Now, the other thing that I noticed, and it was obvious in their game plan last year, Jonathan, you saw this as well. Whenever they took, let's say they got into 2-by-2, all right, or as we call it on this network, duos. Let's say they got into duos and put this slot receiver over here. They would have had a star over him, all right, and when they motioned this guy over, all right, actually they got into empty. I'm an idiot. Sorry. All right, they're in 3-by-1. We have a back on the right. We motion the back over here. Now, this safety, most of the time, will respond to that leverage. He'll rotate back to the middle of the field because now we have 4 wide receivers over here versus just 1 over here. What Notre Dame actually did the moment they motioned the back over, they actually had that safety even condense his foot a little bit more over here to the X. All right, they were very, very aware of where 18 was, particularly in 3-by-1 sets. There's no way to do extra bracketing and be, extra attentive to a wide receiver when they get into these bunch formations. All right, that's why they do so. They're trying to hide and avoid those double teams.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. It seems like bracketing would get pretty messed up with a lot of pre-snap motion.
Yeah, I mean, any double teaming, Kirby, any traveling with guys, any trying to extra attention to those people, and not just, hey, we're going to move them from this side of the formation to the other. What Kirby's talking about is snapping the ball while we're in motion. That really causes problems for things like this, but it stops us from playing fast as an offense. It stops us from being, not to say basic, but being basic install basically and getting to our normal plays.
All right, makes us be a little bit more complicated as an offense when we're trying to defeat all these double teams. All right, but the ultimate thing is how, and it is when you have an X receiver like this, it's the answer, period, or it's the problem most of the time, period, for all these teams is how do we stop the run while dedicating safeties over the top of this guy? All right, on to the film notes continued. I think Ohio State's offensive line has gotten worse due to injury, but Chip's ability to design run game concepts. I had a commenter say, oh, well, Chip Kelly's the new offensive coordinator. I don't think they're doing anything new in the pass department of this offense. I think it's very much so Ohio State of old doing the same stuff that Ryan Day's done forever in this offensive passing concepts. I think what has really evolutionized and changed, evolutionized, new word, is this run game for Ohio State. They're doing much more different things, counter, wham, pin and pull. They're doing different things in the run game, and I think that's, kind of improved this run game, as has Quinshon Judkins' addition. Without Judkins last year, their running back room was Travion Henderson and Chip Trainum, neither of which are over 210 pounds. They could not run in between the tackles very successfully. They have that now with Quinshon Judkins. The other thing that is noticeable and obvious when you watch that tape and compare it to what we've been watching, yes, Kyle McCord played much better football this year at Syracuse, but he was not playing good ball last year at Ohio State. Will Howard at this point in the year is playing much, much better than what we saw on tape from McCord in that matchup back in September of last year. Ohio State's offense as well, I think, is operating at a much higher rate, not just having better players, not just winning their one-on-ones at a much higher rate, but the continuity of the offense is much better. We saw a lot of busted assignments in that matchup against Notre Dame last year. We saw a lot of lack of continuity in motions, Jonathan. We saw guys jetting across the screen that had to kind of slow down before they crossed the mesh point. Just signs of, hey, the offense is not locked 100% in. They are locked in right now when you turn them on tape. Those are the film notes.
Watching Ohio State's offense operate on film today, everything felt so difficult for them. Nothing felt smooth. Like, even if it was trying to get Marvin Harrison the football, there were times where Kyle McCord was making even that difficult. Even if it was, this is the go-to guy right here. We are drawing this play up to hit Marvin Harrison on a sail route, and he's wide open. Kyle McCord doesn't throw the football. Instead, he takes off for 4 yards, and it's great that you got 4 yards on a rush, but we could have had 35 yards hitting Marvin Harrison down the sideline. So, offense felt a lot more difficult last year than it is right now in the playoff run that Ohio State has been playing.
Too many turndowns on that tape.
Yeah.
Way too many.
Has the deep state disbanded?
To an extent. I mean, he's referencing the anti-Will Howard deep state that I was the CEO of and founder starting this summer.
Yeah, I think it was like
when it was announced they bought him.
As soon as he transferred there.
Now, they go on and win a title, that's all fine and dandy, but knowing that they turned down Cam Ward for Will Howard, are you still anti-Will Howard deep state? Because I am.
Well, that's not Will Howard's fault.
Let's put it this way. The Will Howard deep state held true for 12 solid weeks.
Yeah, and now I'm steering the deep state into another alternative take, which is you passed up Cam Ward. He played great, but Cam Ward?
Both of the teams, both the teams in the Natty kind of disbanded deep states. You didn't officially announce it, but you were kind of an anti-Notre Dame.
Oh, I was. I officially announced it. I was anti-Notre Dame. You take a shit at home against Northern Illinois, and I'm gonna cook you. I'm gonna cook you.
Before we get into final predictions for this, do you want me to give you the FPI and have you guess it?
Oh, yeah. Guess the FPI. I like this. 69.9% in favor of Ohio State.
You're just doing that to make a bit. It's not quite that much in Ohio State.
63.4% in favor of Ohio State.
A little bit closer. It's Ohio State 55.3.
Yeah, I'm definitely peaking Mike's tonight. I also had some more that I wanted to guess. I wanted to guess team over-under at 48. Do we have it set?
Let me go look at it.
I bet it's at 48. I also want to set the line at 6.5 in favor of Ohio State.
If you give me 20 seconds, I will.
Apparently, the Hoop Dogs giving it to the Vols right now.
They're up 26-21 right now.
Shout out Mike White.
Almost at halftime.
Hell yeah.
All right,
what do you got for
the
me?
line right now.
I said 48.
48.5. The line is right now 45.5 is your total.
Take the over.
It opened as Ohio State 9.5 point favorites. It's now come down to 8 point favorites.
My Irish fans getting in on the action. Oh my God, we never talked about that absolute heater we saw that Irish dude hit at the casino.
Oh my God.
Jonathan, we watched a dude clear the casino for 12 racks. 12 racks.
Start with 500.
Never seen anything like it. It was a heater unlike anything else. I should have immediately went to the sports book and put it on Notre Dame.
I hope
immediately.
I hope he had a conscience. Like I hope he had the wherewithal to do that and then just never go back. Just
Oh no,
go
he's
back.
a degenerate.
Yeah,
we
here's
found
the
out
problem.
so the heater was so long that we found out this entire dude's backstory.
Yeah, so
he was in a full leprechaun suit.
Okay.
It was. We were like looking around, like he had gotten a crowd at this point. We're like,
Yeah.
this is amazing. You see, everyone's watching him, and it was at one point, like I don't know if it was me or someone close to him was like, "Dude, this is amazing." He goes, "Yeah, well, I lost 15K last week, so this kind of evens things out." And everyone just kind of was like, "Oh, like
This kind of
everyone."
ruined that.
Everyone that was impressed was like, "Oh, I'm now sad for this person."
I'm not
He's
sad
still
for this
down
person.
3.
Yeah, it was very obvious who the girlfriend was as well.
Yep.
And she was like turning around looking at the table because little brother was losing his ass on the next table. And girlfriend turned around and like looked over the table, was like, what the hell is going on over there? And I said, Irish dudes over here bankrupting the casino. And she rolled her eyes. She goes, yeah, that's my boyfriend. He's an R word. Yeah.
It was pretty funny.
It was pretty fun. It was a good night at the casino. That was the night after we watched one of our Georgia sources lose in almost even funnier movie fashion.
No, that one made me sad.
Yeah, that one
because that
was
was like
gut-wrenching.
because I had personal investors like stop, please. okay, now stop.
One of our buddies was up like $600, and he was like, "I got to win one more $25 hand so I can tip the dealer." Proceeded to lose all $600.
It was like 10. It was like
in straight
like
hands.
10 in a row.
Straight hands.
10 in a row, just lost it all.
Insane.
That's brutal.
Sad.
Bad luck for sure. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button. Final prediction time, boys. What do you guys got going on?
So when I first went to make a final prediction earlier in the week, like a thought of like, who do I think is going to win this game? Immediate gut reaction was Ohio State's too talented. Ohio State's too diverse on offense. There's not enough Notre Dame can do to stop this team. And then you look back at the game logs for the last 2 games, because this is the third year in a row these two teams have played. Now, granted, Chip Kelly wasn't the offense coordinator for the last 2, and obviously there's been some rotations. But Ohio State has, on a talent level, been very similar to what they are this year. Maybe a little more or less talented in certain areas. Notre Dame has held them to 21 and to 17 points. So it's not like Ohio State comes in and just lights up these Notre Dame teams. And we've all kind of agreed that the Notre Dame defense where we're going up against or Ohio State's going up against is much more talented than, or playing much better than they have the last 2 years. I still think Ohio State is going to find a way to win this game simply because on the offensive side of the ball for Notre Dame, I don't see an avenue for them getting 20 plus points. I can easily see one for Ohio State.
Yeah.
I'm going Ohio State 24-16. It'll be a one-score game. I could see Ohio State pulling away in the end. It's going to be another defensive effort.
Yeah, I honestly, going into this, I was going to pick Notre Dame to win this game because I think their defense is playing really good. I think they've matched up well against everybody, and I think they've shown that they could be very diverse as well. Like I think they have a good enough secondary to cover Ohio State and make this a competitive football game. The only problem with me thinking that Notre Dame was going to win is the fact that every scenario in my head where they do win this game, they have to play absolutely perfect on the offensive side of the football. I don't know if you're going to be able to do this against that Ohio State defense because really nobody has so far in the playoff. So I do think it is going to be a battle between these two defenses because both defenses are playing the highest level of football that you possibly could be. But I have Ohio State winning 20-14. I think this is going to be very low scoring. Some are going to say it's a boring football game, but it's going to be a defensive mastermind type of football game, in my opinion.
I think you guys got to this in both of your analysis points. I think Notre Dame has the ability to take Ohio State into deep water and really test their lung capacity. I think that's what they do to opponents. They just say, all right, we're going to make this a slow, jogging game. We're going to take you into quicksand, and we're going to out-execute you to get out of this at the very end of it. I think Notre Dame can play patient. They can play disciplined and play this game really, really close and feel like they're not trying to win but not trying to lose type of defensive game plan and offensive game plan, really shrinking possessions, all that good stuff. They have all of the abilities and coaching abilities to win these games and shrink these games into the margins. I don't have to scratch my head very long to find the recipe for Notre Dame, their defense at least, to holding Ohio State to fewer than 24 points. I think we all got to that. We all think Notre Dame's defense has the ability to at least give this Ohio State offense a run and keep them under that 24-point margin. However, I can't, for the life of me, wrap my head around Notre Dame's offense summoning the half a dozen scoring possessions that it's going to require to score enough points to win this football game, because that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a couple of touchdowns and 3 or 4 field goal possessions. That's what they're going to have to put together, and this defense from Ohio State is just too good. Give me Ohio State 27-20 in this football game.
Yeah. I think that's kind of, we're all on the line there.
I think Notre Dame's too well coached and too prideful to get blown out.
This game is going to, like, we've honed in on explosives this entire college football season. I think that this game is going to feel like if any team rips off like a 60-yard touchdown or a 70-yard touchdown or even a special teams touchdown like Notre Dame did against Georgia, that's probably going to feel like the difference maker in this game. Like that one singular play might have just swung this game into that team's favor, because I think it's going to be so difficult for these teams to find the end zone that if you find a way to do it in 1 or 2 plays, that's going to feel like you just went over the entire mountain in one step.
We just got a quote tweeted about Ballsack Sports.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I've been quote tweeted by them one time.
Yeah. They follow the Brody.
Nice.
You know?
What did they?
The start bench cut.
What'd they say?
The Marv disrespect has been noted. I won't stand for this.
Oh.
Yes, I guess Ballsack's big fan of Marvin Harrison Jr. Shout out Ballsack.
Maserati Marv.
Maserati Marv.
Maserati Marv.
That might have been one of my best takes.
Oh, that Gus Johnson sucks?
You know,
I didn't say Gus Johnson. I said he was getting very old and tired, and then the Maserati Marv thing happened, and people
Maserati.
knock it off, Gus.
Someone else that does similar content to us kind of ran into this as well. They said, like, if I were to change one thing in college football, he would call every single game. Like, I could just put him in SEC football games.
Cooked, didn't he?
No.
Or Big 10 football games, Big 12 football. Like, wherever the biggest matchup is, that's who's calling the football game. And the Twitter comments like, nah, keep him out of our football games. He can stay up there and call the Big 10 games. We don't want him down here. We're good.
My biggest problem.
I didn't think that guy ever got smoked for takes. I guess when you have a bad one like that, it's free smoke for everybody.
That one felt like a layup, but in reality, it's not.
My biggest problem with Gus Johnson is it seems like he tries to make the moment more about him and like, did you hear that Gus Johnson call, as opposed to just let the players do what they do and be excited. Like, you don't have to make the moment. Sports are cool enough without the commentators. But hey, what do I know?
I have one question before we transition into the local hour.
What's that?
Do you think the 12-team playoff, it obviously needs certain tweaks, right? I think we need to get rid of auto buys. I think that will balance out those first-round matchups. But with certain tweaks, do you think the 12-team playoff format is the ultimate college football playoff format? Because I do. And here's why. Okay, here's why. I don't think there's 12 national championship caliber football teams every year. I don't think that. I don't think next year there's going to be that. Hell, this year there certainly wasn't that. There were not 12 national title winning football teams in college football. We all agree that. However, we do think the number rests every year around 7 or 8 teams that might have the ability to do so. And we think there's about 20 to 30 rosters every year that spend enough money to do so.
Spend enough money, absolutely.
All right, but there's really about 8 that can go out and win every year, we think, moving forward in college football. I'm not going to hard cap it at 8 because I don't trust the college football playoff to be 100% perfect. I think they have to have 4 teams that of leeway, of wiggle room to not F this up. They need those extra teams.
Don't you kind of cap it at 8, though, because you give them the auto bids? So you kind of are capping it at 8.
Yeah, I said get rid of the auto buys.
Okay.
But the auto bids, I'm fine with because, you know, inclusivity, fairness, all those bullshit.
I will say, like, I have been a lot more acceptive of the expanded playoff this year. Like, I've enjoyed it a lot more than what I kind of thought it would. Now, the first round went exactly how I kind of thought it would have. These are just going to be stinker games. Like, these games are not going to be very good.
I just think the talent has dispersed at such a rate now in college football because of NIL and because of the transfer portal that there aren't just 2 or 3 teams now that are dominant. I think there are 8 or 9 teams that are really, really good with no great football team. And when it comes to me, in my opinion, the whole purpose of the playoff is to decide at the end of the year who is the best football team. And if we don't have enough cracks at it, we might not get the right answer. And I just am in search of the right answer. That's it. And if Ohio State wins the national title Monday, they are the best team. If Notre Dame beats them, they are 100% the best team this year. At this point in the season. And I think we've gotten the right answer now. In the years prior, I don't know if we did.
Yeah.
The problem I have with it is the best team throughout the year is it the best team throughout the year, or is it the best team in this 5-week period when you needed to be? Because absolutely it's Notre Dame and Ohio State. I don't think we clearly weren't making that argument 2 months ago. The other problem I have with the 12 teams...
we had this debate go back on in the BCS era too, in the inverse.
Correct.
People got you guys are Georgia graduates. That Sugar Bowl team that beat the shit out of Hawaii, Georgia fans still think that's the national champion.
Yeah.
They still to this day think that's the national champion. So we had it in the inverse in the old model is all I'm saying.
Don't lose to Tennessee.
Plus, I would say, every other sport that we watch is you got to be good enough in the regular season to make the dance, and then it's just about whoever is good enough within the next 5 weeks or however long it is. It's that way in college basketball. It's that way in college baseball. It's that way in the NFL. It's that way in the MLB.
But in those sports, you can take a shit mid-season. You can't do that in college football now.
Well, you can.
You can.
No, Alabama didn't. They're out.
Notre Dame.
You can't take multiple shits. I'm sorry. You can't take a shit for a month. You can in the NFL.
Can't get on the laxatives.
You would argue that Georgia took 2 this year.
Yeah. Well, no.
Now, they were good teams, but those were bad performances.
Yeah.
The other thing I think that really, really saved what we're talking about right now is the fact that you had 3 teams that were like, hey, wait a minute, those should have been playoff teams over so-and-so, and they all stunk in the bowl games. If Alabama kills Michigan, if South Carolina beats Illinois, if Miami beats Iowa State, we might be sitting here talking about oh, God, did they not? They had 12 shots, and they still might have gotten it wrong. The fact that those 3 teams lost in somewhat embarrassing fashion helps you a lot in saying, 12's it, 12's where we cap it off. I don't know if that's going to be the case every year, though, and that's what worries me.
All right, we got a whole nother hour coming up right now, and it's our best one, our local hour.
Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? Really like that. You really like that? Let's shut up and grab some tape.
Why are Monday mornings the best?
You're doing the tick, 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 tick. That was like NFL Sunday recap Monday morning ESPN.
Oh, yeah. Boomer.
With the music behind.
My mom didn't let me watch TV.
Oh, man. Dude. That and a bowl of cereal before getting on the bus.
Talk to him.
Perfect start to the day.
My mom wouldn't let me watch TV before school. Sucked, dude.
Could you imagine?
You just live a chicken and rice life.
Could you imagine your parents not loving you? Dude,
I lived in a prison.
You don't get to start your day with Stuart Scott.
Oh my God.
No, dude, I didn't. Until I was 16, it was like Fort Knox in there. No fun. No fun in the Kirby house.
Wow.
You want to go fun, you go outside.
Welcome into our local hour. We got a great one for you. Apparently, I've got to deny another person's reporting today. Dan Jackson headed to the NFL. Let's play a little bit game of perfect destination with NFL draft picks. What if Wednesday, Georgia edition, off-season style? If you could pick one dog to return from the NFL draft, who would it be? But I want to give a quick shout-out to our friends over at Better. If you're looking for a new place this season to place player props, Better is the place to be. Enter more than or less than key stats for key players in key games. Head over to Better. Use promo code Brooks. You'll get a 100% deposit match up to $250. Again, that promo code is Brooks over there on Better, or you can use the link in the description of this video. Appreciate those guys. Make sure you're supporting those who support us. Where do you want to start?
We got to tackle this Carson news.
All right.
It seems like a ball of yarn that just keeps getting bigger.
Yeah.
And at some point, it's going to run.
So you're going to make me do it. You're going to make me be the guy to start our local hour by denying another person's reports.
I don't.
Just get out of the way.
We don't have
All right.
to. Yeah.
So a man named Matt Hayes reported today that Carson Beck was wanted by both Georgia and Alabama when he entered the portal. I want to do it this way. All right, 2 things. 1, I'm sure there are people in that Georgia building that wanted Carson Beck back. In fact, I did. I talked to people in that Georgia building that wanted Carson Beck back. But there, you learn pretty quickly when you do this that there are different people who are listed as staffers. There are people who are, UGA or Alabama staffers, and then there are people who are actually in the meeting rooms and in the decision-making circle. The decision-making circle at the University of Georgia, per all of my sourcing, was ready to move and part ways. Okay, so that's what I've been told. Again, I don't have to sit here and say that Matt Hayes is this or Matt Hayes is that, or Matt Hayes is reporting as this or Matt Hayes is reporting as that. The actual decision-making circle, per my sourcing, was okay with Carson Beck entering the transfer portal and heading elsewhere. They were ready to move on. Everyone that I know and trust from the Alabama circles was like, no, we weren't out here calling Carson Beck. So that's what I know about this story, Kirby, and I know that the internet took it as LOL, laugh at Georgia, laugh at Bama. Those two programs are in the tank.
I saw Miami fans were taking a victory lap, but like, oh, Georgia and Bama wanted him, and we outpriced them. Like, it's fun being rich.
It's all very interesting to me how this entire story has worked. Have you seen one like this in college football?
I mean, not that I remember off the top of my head, but every time one of these players goes to a new school and then the fan base gets enthralled with, we won. We won this player acquisition period with this player. It happens in the NFL too. Every time a team signs a bunch of NFL free agents, I remember this first happening with the Philadelphia Eagles that year. They signed Vince Young and Princely Uman, whatever. Not Princely Uman Milan, the corner that was a big corner sign. Either way. I don't know. They signed a bunch of guys. Everybody's like, ooh, the Eagles going to win a Super Bowl. I think they went 9-7 that year. But either way, this happens every offseason when player acquisition period comes around. And now it's just inking into college football where, Miami fans feel like they got the one up on Alabama and Georgia.
But it's funny, though, because it felt like a week ago when it first was announced, like a lot of people were like, oh, gosh, he's not going to do anything for Miami. Miami's fallen. They're desperate. They're going from Cam Ward to this guy. And then it comes out, and it's like, allegedly Georgia wanted Carson Beck back, and allegedly Alabama wanted him. And all of a sudden, it's a huge win for Miami. It's just kind of funny how quickly the narrative has changed on that.
I mean, to me, it was pretty clear when it happened of what the deal was.
Yeah. I don't even need to get into the discussion of did Georgia want him. It was clear to me that Carson didn't want to come here.
Yeah.
No.
So why even go into what was the point of the report?
I don't know.
To drum up Georgia and Alabama's name?
And he knew where he wanted to go. I mean, there was a no contact clause with him. So
that was the weird thing, again, about why, if he did indeed get $4 million from Miami. Who are you bidding against?
I don't think it was
Emory Williams. Is that who you were bidding against? We got to start Emory Williams. That was Carson's leverage. It was weird.
I don't think
his girlfriend's here. You either come here or you go to Texas Tech. I'll give you $4 million. Those things don't make sense to me. They never have it. I'm not pocket watching. Go get your money. Great.
I don't think it was that much, though.
Pete Nako sure does. Pete Thamel sure does. The agents are sure leaking out here that it's $4 million.
Yeah, but there was also that kind of rumors last year when Carson Beck's getting offered 3.5 to come back.
Yeah.
And it was all like,
we poo-pooed on that one.
Yeah, it was all like, all right, maybe it's definitely an inflated number. So.
Any other thoughts?
I don't think there needs to be. I think it's at this point, you wish Carson Beck the best. You thank him for what he did for the 5 years that he was at this program, for the loyalty he showed you during that point, for the fact that he won some really, really great games for you. But other than that, there's no need to.
Georgia sources out here texting me, 1.1 thousand people watching you live. Yeah, baby, don't act like you didn't know this was a big show. Don't act like you ain't know. We got 1870 off-road. Is that who we got? For a super chub right there. Is he already on the board? He is not.
I don't believe so.
I don't see him. 1870 off-road with a super sub north of $20. He gets his name up on the board. Remember, we got that going on every live stream on this network. So if you want to get your name on the board, go ahead and hit that super chub for north of $20. If you watch this on Twitter, all thousands of you wondering, how do I even super chub? You head over to YouTube, you hit that subscription button, hop in that live chat where the real OGs are at. Not these frauds that text me watching me on Twitter.
Yeah, can you see Twitter chat?
I'm supposedly I can. I'm supposed to be able to see both.
Just wondering.
Dubious of such things.
Just wondering if the Twitter chat was as popping as the as a YouTube one.
I don't ever see anything.
I don't see anything
Twitter.
flying up on Twitter. I think people just watch on Twitter. So, all right. Do we talk about Dan Jackson going to the NFL next? Let's do that.
Let's do it.
Dan Jackson, damn good dog. Dan Jackson.
One of the damnedest goodest dogs.
Dan Jackson, also Barney Stinson.
What?
Yep, Barney Stinson. Have you ever watched How I Met Your Mother?
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, Barney, a big-time womanizer. I'm not claiming that Dan is, though I don't know his game. I don't want to act like I'm unfamiliar. I am very much unfamiliar with his actual game. His football game, very familiar with. He is Barney Stinson because of the thousands of photos that I have taken of Dan Jackson. You won't find one that's like, oh, his eyes are closed. Oh, his mouth's open and he looks like he's a mouth breather in this photo. Oh, look at this. His jersey's a little bit fuffled in the wrong way. Nope. Every single photo I've ever taken of Dan Jackson, phenomenal. Phenomenal. Looks tremendous. Veins popping, muscle striations all over the place.
Okay, let's cut it off there.
No, I want to see
Muscle striations was too much for you?
Keep going. I want to hear what else he's got.
Would.
All right.
That's twice on Dan Jackson. My bad, buddy.
I was laughing because I've seen our first ever Twitter commenter now in the chat after we called him out. And would you like to guess who it is?
No.
It's a friend of the show.
Oh, is it no context?
No, it is not.
Who is it?
It's our boy Ben Woke.
Whoa! Stay woke. Ben Woke got a shout out.
He said
last
Twitter
night.
chat is popping off.
Twitter chat. Ben Woke was a visitor, a viewer of that that heater. He was a
the
viewer of
Irishman.
that Irishman's heater. He was standing right next to us. Shout out Ben Woke.
Witnessing greatness, but also not really greatness.
He was witnessing greatness at the time.
He was witnessing debauchery.
It was on a throne. It was on a throne of lies.
Degenerate behavior. Thoughts on Dan Jackson? NFL longtime player, I think. I think Dan Jackson's got 7 to 8 years written on him.
Yeah, I mean, I tweeted out today. If you Google Dan Jackson NFL draft, there's not a single NFL draft profile on him. You can't find him even in the NFL mock draft database. There's nobody even projecting where this guy is going to go. I think that's going to change very quickly. I think that he is going to turn himself into a player that's like, oh, this guy might end up being a really good player that you can find.
Look, I'm pretty self-righteous about my sports opinions, especially when it comes to football players. But I don't think there is a more self-righteous group of people with regards to their opinions than NFL Draft Twitter. NFL Draft Twitter thinks they know more ball than anybody who's ever known ball. And they're out here missing on Dan Jackson already. No shocker there if they don't know ball.
If Dan Jackson never starts a game in the NFL, which I think he will at some point, he will be a gunner on special teams
for years.
For 9 years.
He's also going to go to the combine and run 4.38 at 210 pounds.
What?
He might not be 210. He's probably 200. How much do you think Dan Jackson weighs? 205?
He'll probably
I'd say like 205.
He'll probably show up.
203.5.
He'll probably weigh 195 at the combine
and running
because they always lose weight to run.
Sure, yeah.
I will always remember Dan Jackson as the biggest missile to ever run the alley at safety, only akin to Christopher Smith, and that's why I threw in biggest, the biggest guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that dude was a heat-seeking missile running the alley for 3 years.
I think the story of Dan Jackson is you went from being kind of the butt of a joke to
Jameson Williams putting him on his face. Yeah,
man, shout out number 47 for really throwing his body on the line for that block, to becoming one of the most beloved and consistent players in Georgia's back end of the Kirby Smart era. Like, I mean, there were times where Richard LeCount wasn't there. There were times when, like some of the great Lewis Cine had a couple of bad games. Like, I don't remember Dan Jackson having a quote unquote bad game from 2023 to 2024.
Oh, did we load Diddyisms tonight?
Oh, yeah. I meant to say that after your film notes concluded.
You know what? I think we're at a good, smooth... I want to talk about this before we move into Diddyisms. Dan Jackson going to the NFL made me think of something. I think Dan Jackson's the last Dan Jackson that any SEC football team has. And here's why. We're moving to a hard-capped 105. And for those that don't know what that means we're going to have 85 scholarship players and 20 hard-capped walk-ons. So you're no longer going to have 60 walk-ons on a roster. You go out to a college football practice any given Monday, all right? Any given Tuesday, you're going to see 130 bodies out there. 85 of them are on scholarship, so that means 55 of them are just out there because they love college football. We're cutting that number down drastically. And what I know of this to be the case moving forward, schools like Georgia are no longer going to have people like Dan Jackson just walking off the halls of the school and being like, you know what, I'm pretty fast. I like running my face into shit. I'll go play football. I don't know if that's going to happen anymore. I think these 20 walk-on spots are going to be very, very heavily recruited PWO football players that, you know, probably in years prior were at a Middle Tennessee State that now will go walk on at the University of Georgia to be a Division I athlete.
So the Dan Jackson story might be over, but the Stetson Bennett story.
Correct. Stetson was a preferred walk-on that they were very well aware of and needed an extra body and an arm in the room late, and he loved Georgia. Those types of stories will continue, right? Mekhi Muse was this. Mekhi Muse was a preferred walk-on that they were very well aware of out of Central Gwinnett, and they took him late in the cycle to add the body, all right? I think Logan Johnson is a name like this that turned down offers like Troy and things like that were recruited by the University of Georgia to be a PWO in the class that Brock Vandegrift was in. Those stories, I think, will remain. The idea that you're going to walk off the street and make a team, I don't think is going to exist anymore.
But to be fair, like, I think that's kind of a one-of-one thing anyways.
At Georgia, it is, yeah.
And like, there's a couple of these in the mid-majors where, like, oh, this guy was getting his master's and ended up starting for this team, but, like, I think the success story of Dan Jackson is a one-of-one type thing. Like, this is a guy, like you said, was literally just like, you know what? Why not give it a trial, walk on, and see what I can do?
The number one blowback of this hard cap walk on is the actual quality of football. Mm-hmm. The reason college football programs can practice the way that they do at places like Georgia and Alabama of old and Texas, the reason they can do that is because they have 60 bodies over there that, you know, are virtual moving hitting dummies, not to make fun of walk-ons. But that's what you are. When you walk on at the University of Georgia, you're out there to get obliterated by NFL football players. That's what you're there for.
Flesh shields.
Georgia recently got one of these types of walk-ons. A wide receiver, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Was it this class? I can't remember his name, but he was going to go somewhere else.
He wears 81 now.
Yeah.
On the walk, and he was really good. I think his last name is Bell.
Yeah, it is Bell. I can't remember his first name, though.
Yeah, no, you're right. They do this, and they did this in this class with the kid from Hillgrove. Mm-hmm. He was committed to Northern Illinois, and now he's going to PWO at Georgia. That's what he's doing. He ain't on scholarship. That kid's walking on. And that's what it's going to be moving forward nowadays. So flesh shields is wild, but that is the definition of what they are. Like, I had an opportunity to be a PWO at Ole Miss, and they had just recently signed Robert Nkemdiche, and I was like,
no, thank you.
I'm good. No thanks, coach. I know I'm a really good center, and I know I can long snap for you guys, but I am definitely not going to do that. All right, perfect place, NFL edition. Oh, my bad.
We're about to unveil great content.
It's not as strong. It was a shorter episode. I did it from the film site.
For those of you who don't know, if you're new to the network, this is your first time watching today. Your boy gets up, does a lot of film study, and occasionally I'll be saying some sus shit. This is going to be some good shit. Let's get after it. Let's shut up and let's grind. And then we're going to finish. They're also going to take somebody and kind of sit him right here, sucking this linebacker over here. Notre Dame's made guys get on the ground. But this is what I expect it to look like when you get in here. I think you're going to have to spread it out. So these 5 football players, I can promise you they're coming. Uh-oh, I see you peeking, my man. This linebacker's coming. What did I say there?
We're sitting this guy down right there.
That's what it was. Yeah, we're going to suck up this linebacker. That was crazy. I don't think we quite heard them all. Double it down. Give it to him again. This is going to be some good shit. Let's get after it. Let's shut up and let's grind. And then we're going to finish. They're also going to take somebody and kind of sit him right here, sucking this linebacker over here. Notre Dame's made guys get on the ground. But this is what I expect it to look like when you get in here. I think you're going to have to spread it out. So these 5 football players, I can promise you they're coming. Uh-oh, I see you peeking, my man. I don't know what makes me happier to do my own content and not have a boss. and more proud than Diddyisms, followed up by the chat very clearly having a quote off from Billy Madison. We've made it. We've made it. I'm doing the right thing. You know? I feel like I'm on the right path.
I would agree with that.
Sucking down a chili dog outside. I will give you $5 if you can tell me what song that's from.
One more time?
Sucking down a chili dog from Tasty Freeze.
That's got to be, what's that dude that sang that song about being all high all the time? Afro Man? That's got to be an Afro Man quote, right?
That's a John Cougar Mellencamp song.
No shot. Do I look like I listen to John Cougar Mellencamp?
Everyone should. If you're American, you should listen to John Cougar
All right, that's on me.
Jack and Diane.
Glad I called that guy. Oh, man, what a great movie. You blew it! Stop looking at me, Swan. Perfect place, NFL edition. If you were going through the NFL draft eligible football players from the University of Georgia this year, what would be the perfect spot for those guys to get drafted? Drafting a slot be damned, okay? For example, Michael Williams. I think he's going higher than the 15th overall selection, considering where the edge class is this year. However, Seattle, the Seahawks, with what Mike McDonald does, imagine Mike McDonald having really, really high-end athletic version of Aiden Hutchinson that he had at Michigan. That's what he would have in the form of Michael Williams. I also looked it up today. I don't follow a bunch of NFL football, too consumed in the greatest sport alive, which is college football.
True.
But the Seattle Seahawks were led in the sack department by one Leonard Williams, who is very much so a defensive tackle. Pair the Williams brothers up. Let's get after it.
Yeah, I had Michael Williams with the Rams. I think he would not only.
I got a different dog going to the Rams.
Yeah, I would imagine so. They're usually a good pair with one another. You get a dog going to the Rams, especially on that defense. But yeah, that's where I had Michael going. I think he looked good in the Rams uniforms too. He just kind of fits that, in my opinion.
I went with the Eagles. No, it's a joke. It's a little joke we did there. No,
I think it would be even funnier if I should have told you this pre-show. You should have just gone every player Eagles, and then just move forward.
I went something similar to that.
Okay. So, we'll play the bit then, now that we've introduced it to everybody.
He should go to the Eagles or anywhere but Kansas City.
Okay. It's because you're anti-Raider.
No, I'm not anti-Raider.
Well, you're pro-Raider, anti-non-Raider.
I'm anti-Kansas City.
How about Malachi Starks to one Miami Dolphins?
I like it.
And here's why. Javon Holland apparently entering free agency. So said the article that I read prior to today's show. So you get a potential superstar at a position of need for your football program. But here's the real seller. If I'm a Miami Dolphins general manager, that is a place of distraction. That is a place of debauchery and a lot of bad things going on. When you draft a young football player, that guy better have his head on right. Yeah. Malachi Starks is the best young player in this draft at a position of need to put into that place and have no worry about what he's doing outside of your facility.
I didn't even think about that, but that's absolutely a good point. Like,
that's why I make the big bucks.
He's not going to be a no-nonsense guy. He's not going to be this guy got a DUI or was seen partying late in the club the night before a game. Like, none of that. Like, he's a no-nonsense guy.
He's going to be down on Shopping Boulevard getting his girlfriend some new handbags and doing some Players Lounge interviews.
Isn't his fiance?
I would imagine. Let's say girlfriend, wife by that point. I would imagine.
You would think so.
Yeah.
I got Malachi going to the Colts.
Interesting.
I went with the Bills. That secondary was bad this year, and they could use a guy like that.
I don't think there is a more perfect uniform for Smile Mondon to wear than a Baltimore Ravens uniform, learning underneath Roquan Smith.
I'll tell you what uniform he won't look good in. A Kansas City Chiefs jersey. Nowhere should he.
Nowhere near it.
Nowhere near it. I also had the Ravens. Like, you think of like a guy like Smile Mon, who's like a cerebral linebacker. Not necessarily the same type of player that Roquan Smith is, but very cerebral, like you said, would be very good to learn under.
And I just feel like all they do is draft uber athletes.
Yeah.
That's all they do is draft freaks.
They always have like a really solid linebacking.
They drafted that Owafe dude out of Penn State a couple years ago that didn't have a single sack in a year, but he ran 4.38 and then was Rookie of the Year for him. What do you got for Smile? I
did not put Smile on my list, actually, but I like the Ravens. I This one, I'm putting Tate Ratledge at this team because I just think it fits the entire profile for Tate. I'm putting him with the Tennessee Titans.
Okay.
I think they're kind of known for having some good interior offensive linemen. He grew up a Tennessee fan, and he's close to home, so he has that going for him. Some good hunting can go on in Tennessee as well, so he can do his own thing and have his hobby still intact. I think he looks like a Tennessee Titan.
He could also very well go the Taylor Lewan route.
Absolutely. And that's why I was going to keep him in this market. I think the best, path for Tate Ratledge is like post-playing career 10 years from now is if he stays in this market and becomes the Taylor Lewan of the Falcons market.
Oh, they don't draft Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah, but they draft Georgia Bulldogs that don't make sense for their roster, which is Tate. They're a wide zone football team still, right? Mm-hmm. What are they doing now under their new coordinator? Are they stretching? Are they prioritizing athleticism at the offensive line position?
Well, they kind of do a little bit of both. They stretch when it's Bijan in, and then they also get Algier. So they're kind of
Tate needs to go play for a football team that's north and south. I don't think he needs to go playing for a football team like the Niners.
If you're going with the antic of they're going to draft someone they shouldn't, then I guess that makes sense.
The Falcons don't draft Georgia players, but when they do, it's a 6th or 7th round pick, so they can do the tweet, "We got us a dog," and Georgia fans are like, "You passed up on 14 others." At
That's a crazy way to take a shot at Justin Schaefer.
Was a good addition.
It wasn't a shot at Justin Schaefer. It was a shot at the Falcons. I thought Justin Schaefer was a good lineman for
Jared Wilson is a 49er.
I like that. I have a different dog going to the 49ers.
Kemba?
I have Trevor Etienne going there.
All right.
Not only because Christian McCaffrey is kind of now hitting.
They prioritize speed at the back position, like real straight line speed.
Yeah.
I feel like.
I also think that I would say a lot of running backs are a good fit. Unless you're one of these big bulk power backs, but for a guy like Etienne, they had to filter in multiple running backs this season, and all of them were successful. So I think that Etienne, so I would say this for a majority of backs, but I think Etienne would do good in San Francisco.
I said Etienne would look good on the Jets. Now, I know that they have a lot of problems, but Breece Hall kind of had a down year. I know they have Braylon Allen as well on the bench. Neither of those running backs are really producing. Now, granted, it's not only their fault, but a guy like Etienne, who really has always made the first guy miss, is going to be very valuable in an offensive line for the Jets that isn't very good.
Jalen Walker, a hybrid football player, can play a little bit of linebacker, can play a little bit of edge rusher, does both really, really well. Needs to go to a system that is very hybrid, that features, 3-4 defense, features a 4-2-5 defense, features everything that Jalen Walker can do.
Yes.
And has a bunch of other good football players around him.
Yeah.
He needs to be a Los Angeles Ram.
He needs to be a Raider.
No, he needs to be a Los Angeles Ram. That's what he needs to be.
Walker, Max Crosby combo. Anywhere but the Chiefs, honestly. That's all I care about.
What you looking at him for?
Stop looking at me like that, dude. Dude, tell me Jalen Walker would not look incredible in the black and the silver and black.
Nope.
Hater. This guy's a hater.
Brock Bowers has to suffer in Las Vegas. I'm good on anybody else having to suffer.
Rookie season of all time.
Yeah.
What do you mean suffer?
Thank goodness.
What do you mean suffer, dude? We're just getting started.
How many games y'all win? 4?
Dylan Fairchild needs to go to a place of toughness. I'm talking about the Detroit Lions. I'm talking about play for Mike Vrabel.
Yeah. He would look good in the New England Patriots uniform.
I think
he would.
Yeah.
I think he would also
anything but purple. I don't think he'd look good
anywhere but the Chiefs
and the Panthers. Keep everyone out of Carolina.
I think he would also be a good fit for the Packers.
No.
Their offensive line got emaciated against the Eagles in that game, and they're going to need
emaciated.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you.
Boy, we got a stretch today.
What about Chaz Chambliss? I said Chaz Chambliss would look good on the Falcons.
Look, that would now if you want to talk about a player that the Falcons would draft, that would be one.
You know where Chaz Chambliss is going to look insane? I'm talking about 6-7 years from now. With cornrow dreads like he had against Michigan in a UFC ring, just beating the shit out of somebody with cauliflower ears.
Yes.
That's where Chaz Chambliss is.
As long as he doesn't go to the Kansas City.
I cannot wait to buy that UFC card.
The fact that
it's going to be $350 by that point, with inflation and whatnot. But give me Chaz Chambliss in the ring with the cornrows. That's what I need. I need that Chaz Chambliss. Cauliflower ear and all.
I want to bring this back up because I did think it was really funny. like all these players are putting out their NFL draft declarations on Instagram and whatnot. And Chaz Chambliss is one of these players that hasn't officially done that. And he hasn't posted anything on Instagram in 2 years. The last time before he posted before this was when they went back to back in the national title game.
A shot of him holding up a dead deer.
Today he posts, and the caption is, "Violence is the nectar of life." And it's just a collage of pictures of it, like
this guy's incredible, man.
like this one of him just standing over a Florida Gator.
Yeah.
I hope I don't like open your bag or anything like this, but if, and I don't know if we have plans, but if we got Chaz Chambliss in an interview, what would be the first question you ask him?
What makes you smile?
Ooh.
Oh, I can answer that. There's a picture of him smiling on here. What do you think it is?
Holding up a dead animal.
Hurting,
Sure.
hurting people.
Oh, almost. It's before he's holding up a dead animal, pretty much.
He's in the woods?
It's a Mississippi State running back with the ball, and Chaz is smiling.
It's almost a dead animal.
I'm about to absolutely murder this man. Like,
no, that would be my first question. Genuinely, what was the last joke you heard that made you laugh? Because that's got to be something he remembers very, very sternly. No different than an average man. When was the last time you cried? I bet Chaz Chambliss remembers when was the last time you laughed just as vividly as I remember the last time I cried last Tuesday.
What a terrifying
this morning.
Is everything okay?
Nah, Chaz Chambliss in a UFC ring. Give it to me now.
I can clear as day see that right now.
What about a guy like...
I think he's honestly already trained. I think we wrote an article about this.
He does train, yeah.
I think he already cross-trains in MMA.
I don't think he trains to be professional.
No, I think he just trains because he probably likes getting hit in the face.
Vacation time? Let's go punch people.
I ain't had a bloody lip in 36 hours.
Let me hop in the squared circle.
I sure could go use one.
Let me hop in the squared circle real quick. And
Chaz, how was Thanksgiving? Is awesome.
Took a couple jabs to the nose. Felt real alive.
Chaz Chambliss would definitely have a fight club.
Oh, yeah. Rule number 1.
Well, I'm not in it, so I can talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
Nor have I ever seen it. So,
where's Xavier Truss's best spot?
Again, the Packers, or a team that I don't know desperate, like teams that
it's got to be an up north team. I think.
I don't know teams that are like in desperate need of offensive linemen that can just be like, okay, do this today. You're a guard today. You're a center today. You're a tackle today. But wherever that is where Xavier Truss needs to go, because I think that is what your career is going to be based off of. I don't think he's a bona fide starter at any of the 3 positions.
Is he going to be the first player ever from the state of Rhode Island to make an NFL roster?
There's had to have been at least 1 or 2 others.
I don't know. He's the highest rated player ever to come out of Rhode Island. I know that.
The league's been around for like 60 years.
I'm going to look it up. You guys talk.
But no, I do think that's kind of the career pathway of Xavier Truss, where it's like, hey, our starting left guard just went down. We need someone to do that, but our starting right guard was hurt 3 weeks ago, and our left guard is playing at right guard right now. Who are we going to go to?
Kenny Yeboah is the only player in the NFL currently active from the state of Rhode Island. He's from
there's been plenty of Rhode Island players.
He's been in the league for 3 years. I've never heard of Kenny Yeboah.
Doesn't change the fact that he's
he
in the
does
league.
not look like Kenny Yeboah either. I was expecting a Samoan man. This is not a Samoan man.
What position does Kenny Yeboah play?
Kenny Yeboah plays tight end. He is 6'4", 250 pounds. He went to college at both Temple and Ole Miss. Oh, this is an Ole Miss tight end from a couple years ago. The real good athlete. Wow, this guy's from Rhode Island? This is news to me. Shout out Kenny Yeboah. Shout out Xavier Truss. Xavier Truss is a Buffalo Bill.
Shout out Rhode Island. Producing loads of NFL talent up there.
Facts.
Probably per capita, it's probably on par with like
Tennessee,
Arkansas.
I was gonna say, yeah, Arkansas, Tennessee.
So, it's not a very big state. It's itty bitty. What about a guy like Aaron Smith? What would be a good fit for him?
The Raiders.
Maybe. I said the Chargers.
I feel like the Ravens do this every once in a while.
Just have it take the top
Just
off.
go get a speedster.
The Eagles.
Did it work out with Zay Flowers? I know it did year 1. Is it working out with Zay Flowers?
He's been battling injuries. He got suspended this year too, or is that Zay Jones?
I think that was Zay Jones.
Oh man, East Carolina's finest is Zay Jones.
Yeah,
but they've tried him multiple times. I mean, they had Hollywood Brown as well.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, as long as he doesn't go to Kansas City, I'll be fine with it.
Dead horse over there.
I hope they all go to Kansas City.
No. You know how conflicted I felt watching Cole Hardman catch that game-winning touchdown last year, and knowing that damn team and Patrick Mahomes are Super Bowl champions once again because of a former Georgia Bulldog.
So Zay is a Pro Bowler.
Okay.
See, this shows how just consumed we are in college football.
Yeah.
We ain't missing All-Americans.
No. I mean, if I'm watching NFL, I'm watching the Falcons, and then I might catch the Sunday night game.
Bro, on Sundays, as soon as I get done with that noon reaction show,
Brain off.
oh, dude. Brain off until
Football's like the last thing you want to do.
Brain off until about 8 o'clock that night when the kids go down and I have to
Yeah,
start
that one got
studying.
ugly.
Georgia fell.
They're down 21.
Georgia has 4 second half
Crumbled.
points to Tennessee's 26.
Crumbled. It's okay. Mike White bounced back. Shake back week.
Hey, tough to win on the road.
Big week for the Hoop Dogs. They got Auburn this week as well.
Yep, at home.
Big time. Big time.
Tough to win on the road.
Gonna need the steg stacked. I did see a video of that basketball arena up there in Tennessee. There's a reason why SEC programs recruit a little bit better than Georgia.
Hey, the Steg's on the come up though.
The Steg environment is on the come up. You go inside the Steg and you watch a game and it feels intimate and it feels cool. But it's definitely a arena that needs updating.
Hey, they're doing it at Foley Field right now. Foley Field looking clean.
Big things are coming. Yeah, I drive by Foley Field every night.
Big ups, Josh Brooks.
Big ups, man.
Big ups, man. Bumbleclot.
All right.
What if Wednesday?
Dude.
Whoa.
The last one.
Feels like it's been a minute.
It is last one.
Oh, yeah.
The last What If Wednesday.
BA got more Zen drops than Dylan has football drops. That's crazy.
Ooh. We need to start doing a drop counter.
What if UGA turns its defense around this year like Notre Dame did this past offseason? I think they're in a very similar situation where you look at Georgia's defense and you're like, damn, Jalen gone, Michael gone, Malachi gone, Dan Jackson gone. You look at all the losses and you wonder how they could manage to be better next year than they were this year. And they weren't like world class this year. They were really good this year. Mm-hmm. And you have a bunch of losses. And I think Notre Dame fans probably looked at their defense the same exact way next year. That's the big what if for me. How much can these guys who haven't played a ton of football, how much can they immediately come in and make drastic impacts on this roster?
You know, for as impressive as a feat that would be for us and for the people that kind of really pay attention to the ins and outs of the roster and all the changes that you go through, I don't think it's going to be that much of a headline or a talking point this time next year, because the Georgia Bulldogs, as long as they have Kirby Smart as their head coach, will always be the expected of that should be a top 10 defense every year. That should be competing for a top 5 defense every year. So, I mean, even if you lose a bunch of talent, even if you lose 7 of your 11 starters or 10 key contributors on that defense, people aren't really going to say like, oh, they lost a lot of people. It's going to consistently be expecting top 10 defense. So if Georgia does do what you're saying, I think it'll just be the status quo for most people.
This is the main reason why I don't know if Georgia basketball will ever be good. Like really good, perennially like in the top 10 discussion despite all the talent in Atlanta and all the, what do they call that, AAU basketball that's played here. I would trade being a national champion in baseball and this good in basketball to be even better at football. I think most Georgia fans, based off the way that I've been doing this business for 6 years, every Georgia fan that I talk to would trade a national title in every year to be Vandy into the other sports. The worst of the worst in the SEC, as long as we dominate in football, we'll be okay. We don't care.
Yeah.
What will change that? You're my hoops guy. What's going to change that?
I mean, they kind of have already changed it. Like, I would say between Wes Johnson and Mike White, like the baseball team was really good last year. They're expected to be really good this year. Now Mike White.
Top 8?
Yeah, they're top 8, preseason top 8 right now. And Mike White has gotten the basketball program there now because he recruited and got really good transfer portal guys. If he continues to do that, then they will be competitive. And I think that's truly what people will tell you about Georgia basketball. Like if they had an aspiration for it, it's be competitive, make the tournament. That's kind of the bar for Georgia basketball. Anything else outside of that, winning a tournament game or anything like that, that's kind of just icing on the cake. So I think it is kind of changing a little bit.
You also need like years of consistent competition. Like you can't have these one flash years and then go back to the status quo for every 4. Like if Georgia puts together 4 or 5 years of what they're doing right now in the basketball and what they did last year in baseball, like they will absolutely become these quick, baseball teams.
I got a what if for you.
Oh yeah, that's a That's what we're doing.
What if Gunnar Stockton is Barker Mayfield?
Who's Barker Mayfield?
Man, nah, dude, it's Baker, but he barks because he's a dog.
What if Gunnar Stockton is Barker Mayfield and Carson Beck is Cam Ward Light? Cam Ward Light.
Same thing.
Would you be okay with that?
So like Carson Beck.
Carson Beck balls, but you got Barker Mayfield on your roster.
Are we talking from like a straight statistical output?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like the Moxie.
Both of them ball. You got Barker. They got Cam Ward White.
I'm fine with that. I don't think anyone's going to complain about Oklahoma Baker Mayfield.
No. It's more of the Georgia fans. I'm asking you, how are you going to feel if your quarterback's good and the quarterback that left is really good too?
I think people are kind of already expecting Carson to do well or put up better numbers at Miami.
Yeah, if you got Barker Mayfield, you're happy. You're ecstatic.
I mean, if you got Barker Mayfield, you're back in the playoffs. So if you're back in the playoffs, Carson has a seat in New York, but they're not in the playoffs.
I'm betting on Barker.
What if Georgia didn't get a bye week in the playoffs and they hosted Indiana in the first round?
You have a playoff win, but you still don't win a national title?
What was your question again?
So say Georgia does not get the bye week for whatever reason, whatever happens in the SEC championship. They play Indiana round 1. And then the winner of that game plays Notre Dame. Does the season go any differently, you think?
No. Well, no, Carson's healthy. Does he get hurt in the SEC championship?
Carson, we'll assume Carson is still out in this game.
No, I don't think anything changes. I don't think you're beating Notre Dame.
Yeah, that's what I said. I think you have a playoff win, but you still don't play in the national title.
What if Carson never got hurt? Do you beat Notre Dame?
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah. I think asking Gunnar to do that in start 1, he played really, really great. Don't get me wrong. Or really, really good, I should say. But I think it was going to require a 300-yard passing performance in that football game because they couldn't run the ball.
But your O-line didn't help you out at all.
No, they didn't.
So I don't know that Carson being back there, like maybe he hits a few more checkdowns, but I mean,
there was only one moment of the game when
you guys don't think start 30 for Carson goes a little bit better than start 1 for Gunnar?
I agree.
But Carson being in the game doesn't stop a kickoff return from happening. Carson Beck being in the game doesn't stop your left tackle getting beaten in a 2-minute situation, and if you fumble the football, they score.
And I was to say, the only moment where I felt like, if Carson's in that play doesn't happen, was on the first drive when Gunnar was hit and the fumble rolled 5 yards back.
Yeah.
Because his delivery is more elongated. It felt like, if Carson's in there, he gets that ball out. Other than that, there was never really a moment where I was like, Carson Beck makes that throw when Gunnar Stockton didn't. Or, if we had Carson Beck here, we would see something. And maybe, you could do the offensive scheme changes and all of those things change. But I don't know. Part of me thinks that you greatly missed veteran quarterback play in that game, and then the other part is like, well, would it have really helped you that much? Because you had veteran quarterback play against Texas, and you had 3 points at the half. So
it's a good point.
I don't know. That's probably the biggest what if we could do, and I
think it definitely would have helped to have a really good processor in that game, which Carson is that.
I've got 2 2025 what ifs that y'all aren't going to like me for bringing these up, but if you're not having these conversations in the room at the University of Georgia right now, I don't think you're doing roster management and what ifs properly. What if Drew Bobo gets hurt next year?
Oh crap. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
What if Drew Bobo gets hurt next year?
There's
an All-American from Troy that just hit the portal, by the way, from the interior of the offensive line position. I'd be calling. I don't know if they are. I would be. If I were running the room, we'd be calling. All right, because you're one Drew Bobo injury away from wondering if Micah Morris can be a center, wondering if Malachi Tolliver can play good enough football for y'all to survive. Also, another question now that has to be asked in that room, in that building, over and over again over the next 6 months. What are we going to do if Nate Frazier gets hurt?
And I don't have the answer for you.
They don't either. So they better address this over somehow, some way.
Here's what I'm going to say. You've been covering since 2019. Has there ever been a moment when you get to the start of the season, week 1, and you say they are not prepared at X spot in the roster?
No, but I think there's a lot of A lot of this has to do with NIL and transfer portal.
Agreed.
These guys are leaving. They're having a bunch of guys miss. But the interior offensive line discussion is straight finger pointed at Matt Luke.
Absolutely.
If Griffin Scroggs wasn't a total miss, if Griffin Scroggs was a Cortez Smith as a junior right now, we wouldn't be having this discussion.
Mm-hmm.
You'd feel fine. But you didn't sign anybody in 2022, 2023 outside of Ernest Green and Drew Bobo that are impacting this roster right now. And that's why you are where you are with this question. I know that they're asking themselves these questions in these rooms. I know that they're searching everything they possibly can to figure out how they're going to address this. But the reality is, unless something happens in the spring portal, there ain't no answers. It's just hope it don't happen.
Yeah. But I mean, something and maybe this is just me being optimistic, but I feel like there will be something that they do because, like you said, if we can look around and say, hey, these are problems that need to be fixed or something that needs to be addressed should something come up.
The answer starts with a T and ends with ampering.
Well, I mean,
that's what you do.
And again,
that's what every other team would be doing right now.
And again, everyone's doing it.
Yeah.
Tampering is the new paying player.
I mean, you just went out and said it. You got to T-amper that thing, man.
You tell me, what's a premium position that you can go watch on a spring football game of that guy is clearly the number 2. That guy could definitely come play for us, though, and be our number 2 or number 3. Running back.
You got to T-amper your way into this. All right? That's what I'm saying.
So you call up Jimmy.
Because I think NFL agents might have T-ampered their way into getting Trevor Etienne to enter the draft.
Probably.
There's no T-amper in there, but they probably influenced that one just a little bit. I'm
sure they did. And like we said, Katron Allen, Nick Singleton's choice all. But look, let's not act like tampering is a big scandal anymore. It is, but tampering is a new paying players. It's kind of you can complain when the other team's doing something has to change, but deep down, everyone's doing it. It's a level playing field because everyone's doing it. And no one's going to really, really complain. Every now and again, a coach will be like, yeah, our starting quarterback got contacted, so-and-so. Happens all the time. You're probably doing the same thing. So it's not like a scandal, in my opinion.
You got any what-ifs?
Yeah, enough of the gray clouds. Let's have a fun one. What if Georgia had some way, somehow, gotten just one more year out of one of Brock Bowers or Ladd McConkey this year?
Oh,
how big of a difference do you think that makes?
I think you beat Alabama. I don't think there's any version of a weapon that makes you beat Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Based off the way your offensive line played. And I certainly think you have a much better chance of winning that game against Notre Dame with those two weapons.
Just one of them.
Just one of them. Well, no, you need them both.
Oh, well, I said just one of them. Like you just get Brock Bowers back, or you just get Ladd.
Give me Ladd McConkey versus Notre Dame, and I think we cook them.
That's crazy to think about. And I also think, holistically, you're a much better offense.
And people go, why didn't he take Brock? Well, they got a safety in the middle of the field all the time. They left everyone else on the outside in one-on-ones.
For the season, you take Brock.
Yeah.
For the
that
one
individual matchup, I'm taking
Ladd.
Ladd because he's cooking whoever's out there playing corner.
For sure.
As we found out in the NFL now.
Yeah. So. What if Alabama's lead was 21-0 instead of 28-0?
What if Ryan Williams didn't catch that ball?
Well, I mean, that's the obvious one. I kind of wanted I
don't think it changed anything towards the end of the year. I don't think beating Bama would have changed anything for Georgia. They were still the 2 seed.
Yeah, but I think beating Bama could have really changed a lot of your attitude towards the season. Like, if Ole Miss is your only loss, if you're SEC champions, if you have that incredible comeback, a 21-point comeback against Tuscaloosa or against Alabama in Tuscaloosa, that really changes your attitude toward the season. I think that a lot of things, and I think things really started to go off the rails as far as from fans talking about how the team was from the Alabama game. Because it was very much, hey, Carson's not the answer here. Hey, our offense isn't very good. Our defense, Glenn Schumann might not be. I mean, there was Glenn Schumann slander this year, and it started at the Alabama game. And I think if you win that game, a lot of that goes away. Now there will still be criticism of Carson Beck because we know he had a stint of rough games. There will still be Mike Bobo slander because those people will exist until the end of time. And even maybe at some point, some people would have said, "Hey, Glenn Schumann, Mississippi State just scored 31 points against us. What's going on here?" But I don't think fans would have been so frustrated and so, This is the worst year of Georgia football I've ever seen if you win that Alabama game.
What if Jackson Muschamp had an extra year of eligibility?
This core would just be
one draftable Georgia football player. If you could have come back, who would it be?
Michael Williams.
Yeah, it's an easy answer for me.
I want Jalen Walker.
I went with Michael Williams because he solves a depth issue problem at defensive end and Jack.
Yeah.
That's exactly why I took him.
I like the Michael one.
Note.
I think you need someone who can get after the pass. And Michael Williams absolutely can do this. Michael Williams also felt like a big run support guy for me, but I think having that Jalen Walker alpha presence, because again, we don't know who that's going to be this year, and next year. You needed that this year, and Jalen Walker was kind of the only one of those guys other than KJ Bolden, who was a true freshman. I also went with Tate Ratledge because I think that answers a lot of your questions on interior offensive line. You have your guards. You have your answer of what if Drew Bobo gets hurt? Well, we'll slide Tate Ratledge in. Stuff like that I think would have been big. So. And by the way, Tate Ratledge is just a fun guy to have on your team.
I think the number one thing Georgia's got to figure out this offseason is how to get back to being the disciplined down-to-down football team that they were. I don't think there's ever – we've already talked about this. I don't think they're ever going to be as talented as they were in 21 and 2022. But I never saw short yardage false starts. I never saw Parker Jones in the white. I never saw multiple, bad turnovers from the quarterback in a football game in which he did not respond. All right. I didn't see these things from national championship level football teams. I want to hear more about skull sessions. I want to hear more about we don't even have to wonder who our leaders are. These are our football players. I want to hear about, hey, we got beat by Alabama in the SEC championship game. Jordan Davis stood up in front of the whole team and said, we're running stadium stairs after every single practice the rest of the season to make sure that we're in tremendous shape. I want to hear those things next year.
And again, I think that's where we talk about how we're kind of entering this new era of Georgia football where the leadership from the guys you saw in 2021 definitely carried over into 2022, and the talent was there as well. And you also saw some of that in 2023. You saw it in the Auburn game.
We're getting further and further away from those.
Yes, and it's to the point now where there's not a lot of people in that. I don't think there's basically anyone that's in the current room right now other than coaches that was there around Nakobe Dean, around Nolan Smith.
I don't want to hear a single, and the chat's already hit it. I don't want to come in here first week of media availability and say, guys, I heard got 4 or 5 guys tell me that, no, now I have to be a leader. No, sir. I was born a leader. I am a leader, and I'm going to be a leader.
But do you think that kind of attitude is a product of what you had in 2021? Because a lot of those guys that, were thrust into this leader position, they got there. They had their leaders. No one really had to step up. Like Nolan Smith was there. Nakobe Dean was there. Like the guys that were there being leaders for you were there, and you always relied on them. When they leave, it's kind of like, oh, you weren't personally prepared to do that. Now I get that there's an alpha mentality that comes into that, but it's kind of the tough times make hard men make good times, yada yada adage. Like I feel like that could also be a product of it, is that you had so many alphas when you were a freshman, you were a sophomore, that by the time you got to junior and senior year, it was kind of you weren't ready for that role.
I think you had a collection of talent that were uber talented football players that just by random selection, a lot of them ended up being introverts. And it's okay to be an introvert. It's not a bad thing. All right. But you had a whole bunch of these guys that were in pivotal positions, right? And we've talked about it. Your guys like Carson Beck, guys like Jalen Walker, guys like Malachi Starks are not outwardly demonstrative people. They have never been that in their life, and it's okay that they are not that. But you can't have a whole team of non-demonstrative people, because eventually someone's got to grab the reins, and it can't just be one guy that feels as if I've got to do it because no one's doing it. It's got to be a natural thing.
Is that something you can recruit?
And
is that even anything that you can obviously recruit? You can go up to a kid and say, oh, that kid's an alpha, that kid's very introverted, very reserved. Doesn't change the quality of player that they are, but is there metrics that teams use that you know of? Because you speak with a lot of teams that do recruiting.
No, but I do know that when KJ Bolden got into the room this year, it was like, oh, we got a guy that's going to talk shit to a senior in the middle of practice. We got a guy that's willing to, and not that Malachi's not this, but we got like a dude, we got like a fucking an alpha back here that's barking the whole time. That's new. All right, that's what some of these other guys were. It's good for the roster to have it. It's good to be here. It's good to be here on this network, and subscribe to this network if you're not already. You need to be. We'll be back tomorrow with another live stream, and who knows, I might have another film study for you because I'm just addicted to ball knowledge. Hope you guys are as well.